just for less, and you should be able to hear everything okay. And I'll have the mic on when they do the roll call.
Thank you. 6 months. I expected to be much less. Track.
Okay, so the need hasn't risen to add that other thing I gave.
Yeah, the walk on this
Yeah.
CB4, right?
Yeah, we're gonna do like CB4A. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm adding for recycling.
You're going to have to be fine. We're just getting ready to start.
Welcome, everyone, to the City of California City Council meeting this Tuesday, August 14th, 2018 at 6 p.m. At this time, would you please, well, first off, I'll say Councilmember Eugene Stump will be joining the meeting via teleconferencing. He's not there, but he's right there. Mr. Stump will be at the following location during the conference call. That's 11 Pelham Court and, of course, Karama, NT, Australia. So I'm calling to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. Would you like to?
Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your heads with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we're gathered here tonight to do something that's very important, and that's to govern your city. We ask in the name of Jesus Christ that the Holy Spirit would anoint each and every council member, each and every person in the audience, and those at home watching, that they may receive your word and your direction for our glory, for your glory, but most of all for the benefit of our city. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, could you roll call us in, please?
Councilmember McGuire.
Here.
Paris.
Here.
Stump.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez.
Here.
Mayor Wood.
Here. Before we go to adopt the agenda, there are two things I need to bring to your attention. CB4A, there's a need that has risen to handle a temporary contract for law enforcement assistance. So this happened after the publication of the agenda to add this. So I'm looking for council to approve that, recognize that as such.
I'll make that motion that we approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. And then the second item, we'd like to take, I'm sorry?
Can you take that by roll call because we have someone on the phone?
Okay. All right. So because we have somebody on the telephone, we need to roll call that. Madam Clerk, could you roll call that?
Councilmember McGuire.
Yes.
Paris.
Yes.
Stump.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez.
Yes.
Mayor Wood.
Yes. Another item I'd like to do, and it's a matter of housekeeping to make the evening move a little bit better, is I'd like to move CB3, which is the amendment to the cannabis ordinance, right before CB1, and then move everything down. Why? Because he would have to get up, get off the dais, come back, and let's just eliminate some of that if that's okay. So he'll be off the dais then for 3 consecutive items rather than 2, then come back and have to leave again.
So we're going to move CB3 to the 2 position? Is that,
To the number 1, right before CB1,
oh, before CB1.
right after the public hearings,
Okay,
yes.
got it.
So, gentlemen, since we are doing that, let's, anyone make a motion to accept that?
Make a motion that we accept.
I'll second that.
Madam Clerk, roll call us, please.
Councilmember McGuire.
Yes.
Paris.
Yes.
Stump.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez?
Yes.
Mayor Wood?
Yes, okay. With those changes, I'm looking for a motion to adopt the agenda for tonight.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Do we have to roll call this? Yes. Okay. Madam Clerk, could you roll call us?
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Stump?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez?
Yes.
Mayor Wood?
Very well, yes, thank you. Madam Clerk, do you have any reports or late communications?
Yes, ma'am. Let's see, these are all from JM Powers. First one is dated August 5th. More than 14.75 million in estimation errors among 32% of the budget lines at the 11th month point of budget year. August 6th, 2.4 million in city overspending on Mr. Stockwell's watch as of May 2018. August 7th, city losing over 2.2 million in lease of former Van Prey property at airport. August 8th, misguided comprehensive management plan, operation audit RFP will waste funds, not solve core city problems. And those are all copied on the front table. That's it.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Moving into presentations, City Treasurer Keith Middleton, could you give us your July report of investments, sir?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, staff, and our wonderful public. Back in June, we had about $13 million in our investment accounts with city and with Kern County and the state treasurers. We were fortunate enough, we brought in $46,291 in interest on that amount of money before we had to bring down $1 million to pay our CalPERS unfunded liability. So we're $46,291 ahead of where we were in June. And that's all I have. The rest of it's just normal. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. All right, moving on to staff announcements. Starting off with you, Chief Hurtado, Police Department update.
Since we met last, we've had a few interesting cases. One within the last couple of weeks, we had a report of a burglary in progress at a home on Xavier Avenue and Kelsey Boulevard. Someone decided to try to break into someone's home. There was a confrontation between the homeowners and the suspect. Ultimately, the suspect spent a day and a half in the hospital before going on his journey to Kern County Jail, where he's getting charged with burglary.
Chief, real quick, was that the one that Sergeant Hightower handled? With the cut arm?
We've had quite a rough 2 weeks. I'm not sure if that's the same one.
It was my understanding that Sergeant Hightower saved the man's life by using a tourniquet.
Oh, no, that's totally different incident. That's on my list. So on 7500 block of Walpole, we responded to police department response to several types of medical aids. If there's something that we have resources and equipment to do, usually if it involves children, we want to make sure that there's no criminal activity or foul play involved. If somebody is a person's down, unconscious, determine if there's any foul play involved, or bleeding. So our 911 center received a call that somebody had cut themselves by accident on a glass window. We got there about 2 minutes after the call and immediately found somebody that was semi-conscious out in front of the house in a car. Sergeant Hightower noticed a trail of blood coming from the apartment out into the street to where our victim was at. Immediately recognized signs of shock, applied tourniquet, and I think within a couple minutes the fire department and paramedics arrived and were able to give advanced life support, and together as a team this person is alive today. So kudos to Sergeant Hightower. That's the incident that we're talking about. We've had a rough 2 weeks. The call volume is actually kind of on the lower side, but they're all very busy calls. We've handled 743 calls since we last met. We've had several death investigations. One was suicide. I had one a couple hours ago. Natural. Today's was a natural, yes. Another thing that happened actually with yesterday, we had been receiving complaints of different thefts, especially on the north side of town. We had received a call about 2:30 that somebody was a victim of a residential burglary, had captured our suspect or their suspect on video. At about 3:26 yesterday afternoon, we sent out a Nixle, our local alerting system, with a picture of the getaway car that was used. Luckily, some very concerned neighbors were able to snap a picture of our suspect vehicle as it left. That was at 3:26. At 3:37, we got our first call. That was actually our airport staff. Airport manager Robert King was at the terminal and actually spotted our suspect vehicle parked in front of the terminal. We're able to conduct a surveillance, try to stop the car as it left, and as many of you may have learned on Nixle, the pursuit began. Yesterday was the first day that we were unable to fill all our shifts. It was me and a jailer working yesterday. I initiated the traffic stop after the pursuit started, requested assistance from our neighboring agencies, both the Kern County Sheriff's Department and Highway Patrol. This pursuit lasted just under 40 minutes. Almost went head-on with a school bus on Aurelia. Almost ran a couple other people off the road. All around the airport, north of Mendoboro, out by the treatment plant, is where it ended, where they ultimately got stuck. The driver, Cody Riley, took off running. Lucky that he decided to take a shower at the nice facility at the airport and forgot to put on shoes as he decided to run across the desert. So those of you that may have run barefoot in the desert know it couldn't be a challenge. It was in the afternoon. It was a little warm, and I don't think Mr. Platt has gotten to sweeping all the dirt paths in the desert. So there's probably some debris on the road that probably caused Mr. Riley to incur some injuries. After a short pursuit, he was captured. He was wanted in several counties, Kern County, LA County, for vehicle theft, burglary, and drug charges. His accomplice, Danielle DeLeon, is no stranger to police, was also apprehended and booked. So far, we're at a little over 13,000 calls for the year. I believe by the time we meet again, we'll be breaking our 14,000th call for the year. We did, thanks to the council, we did start hiring our jailers. We do have one that just started. He had the opportunity to help babysit our burglary suspect overnight in jail. I think he's able to have like one day off since we've hired him. It's a good program. Allows us a chance to keep our full-time sworn here, as the jailers can facilitate the transports to and from Bakersfield, Mojave, Tehachapi, and allow our citizens to keep full-time sworn officers here in the city. And I think that's it.
Well, thank you very much, and pass along to everyone else. We appreciate what they're doing, and Those are interesting photos we get sometimes on there. So, Chief, Fire?
Good evening, Mayor, council people, staff, public. Code enforcement, 21 new cases, closed cases 27, citations issued 6, notice of violations issued 18, complaint forms received 5. Fire-wise, we've had 16 fires, 113 EMS/rescues, hazardous conditions 3, service calls 3, good intents 19, false calls 2. I just wanted to say thank you for the support that we received from everybody regarding Measure C, and proud to or pleased to report that the celebration that we had on Friday evening was uneventful, other than the excitement and bringing the community together. I thought it was real nice, and I found actually Matt and I found one clinker that came down from a long ways above, and we put it out. We gridded the place, found out that it was fire safe, and moved on. Again, thanks very much.
Thank you very much. On code enforcement complaints, can they still go online to do that?
Yes.
Okay, very well. Thank you, sir. All right, public.
It reminds me, just if I might take it back just for one moment. We've been working very hard at doing just that, cleaning up the community. City manager moving us all toward making the city a nicer place to live. Safety, sanitary, and then of course its presentation and how it appears to us and to the people who come into it.
Yes, thank you very much. That's very important quality of life measure for all of us in our community. We like to live in a nice looking community. Public Works Director Platt, your department update, sir.
Council and public. Facilities closed out for the month of July, 157 work orders. Projects would be total rekeying of the Tierra del Sol golf course. I think anybody that's been in there know how many doors there. They all were different. So it's actually master keyed now. They rebuilt the pumps and the filters at the pool. Posadas Park, the electrical, which is the electrical that was tied in to the project over there, which was the restrooms. And the parking lot. We still have, we got tasked with actually finishing that project, so we have to tie in the water and the sewer, which has already been mapped out, and if that hasn't been done, that'll be done shortly. The parking lot lights. The lights, as we know, in here and back there that switch on are through a relay that trip a breaker that actually are on a timer, which I believe is the same one I remember on the well house when I was like 12 years old. So they're really old. I've got some prices I will be bringing back, and the ones that are missing out there is because the poles have rotted off because they were direct buried in the ground. So anybody knows the far side, most of those are gone because they have fallen over. We've had to replace several of the heads because they just absolutely quit working and parts just are not available. So we put a couple LEDs in there, which is what we want to do on all of it. So I'll be bringing back actually a light and a fixture that is solar. And we'll do away with electrical and abandon all the old electrical that's out in the front parking lot. So that's something we'll bring back and talk about and get rid of the lighting system out there, so it basically runs automatic. Desert Jade, roughly about 46.5 hours over the last month, and that's replacing appliances. Amy is quite active over there in cleaning up some of the old appliances, which have been kind of shifted to our department. So we're just tracking those hours for the month. The street department closed out 41 work orders. Street sweeping, something we're doing extremely regular and trying to keep the roads with the curb and gutters and CCB actually clean from debris. Potholes was 265 potholes were patched over the month. 1,232 square feet. And then the miscellaneous is weed abatement, which they're out doing now. They're removing a lot of weeds within the right-of-way. Randsburg Mojave, anybody that's been on that side of town knows that the road's a little bit smoother from Mindenboro to at least to the top of the hill at the cemetery. That project will be completed pretty quick. It has to settle a bit before we actually do the striping if it's not done, and I didn't look at it today. So to my knowledge, it's not in there yet. So that'll be within the next few weeks, and then the backfill along the edge of the shoulder to finish cleaning it up. So a lot smoother, so we shouldn't have to patch there for a long time. Water department, 7 mainline repairs, no blowouts. 41 services replaced, 23 meters, and miscellaneous AMS valves. As we see the project on North Loop, they're pretty close to the intersection. We got a major power crossing we got to deal with close to the intersection. It's an underground power. It's a main power that runs through there, so we've got to, we're actually, because of the depth, we'll be doing a dog leg over the top, which will be made out of ductile iron and all bolt and flange. Last month, so when you see in the check register, there's a really large bill in there, which is actually an order from the last year, which was the last order for the meters, which is approximately 1,040 meters total, and the bulk of those are about 1,000, 3/5/8 by 3/4, and that will pretty much wrap up the replacement for the entire city. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. I want to say, yes, I've driven on the Randsburg Mojave northbound. It's smooth. It kind of waffles a little bit. But the southbound's like glass. So I don't know why that is.
It's the tire on the right side of your car.
Okay. All of them? All of them?
It must be my car, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I had noticed that, and that was one of my first comments was before they even made it to the top of the hill.
So they will be doing the striping and everything once.
So they'll be doing the striping, but it has to cure. Otherwise, it'll just fade right out, and it won't last very long.
Okay. I was glad to know I'm not the only one, but thank you very much. And we really much.
I actually did pass that on the very first week when they passed it on. That it's a heck of a lot smoother than it was.
Well, what happened is you did Hacienda. Look at how good that turned out.
Yeah.
So it's hard, hard act to follow.
Thank you very much. Budget Analyst Foster, Department update, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, community. The Finance Department, I just want to update you. Last week, Beth Boone and myself attended a Cassell users group in Northern California. Cassell is the software that we use for the Finance Department and Utilities and Business License Department. We were able to meet with the actual product owners and developers, as well as a small network of users in Northern California. We were taking a in-depth look actually at each module of Cassell to get a better understanding of how they connect with each other and how we can better use them here at the city. Beth and I have about a year of experience working with Cassell, so we were able to take some really good questions and some of the problems that we've been having over the past year and get some answers. So we're looking forward to being more efficient with our AP, our business license, payroll, and general ledger functions. We also took a look at some new modules that they have, such as work orders, to work with our utilities department. So we'll be looking at that a little closer to see if it could line up with our water department as far as our service orders and what the guys are doing in the field. One of the releases that will be coming out this week for Cassell is Connect Online, and what that will bring to us is the ability for all of our supervisors to now via the web, go online and look at their budgets real time, accounts payable transactions, look up vendor history, and any information like that that we currently have to do in finance, and then maybe email to them. So that's going to really save a lot of time on both sides. So we're continuing to try to maximize optimize the use of Cassell and become more efficient. And I think we'll make some great strides in the weeks ahead. The other item that we're working on is continuing to work on our upcoming audit. Our auditors will be out September 12th through the 14th, so Beth and myself will be working towards preparing the schedules and getting ready for that audit in addition to our day-to-day activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. There's a lot of work that you have to do with that, and I appreciate the fact that we're going to maximize the capabilities of Cassell, because we haven't. We've had this system for a long time. We haven't used it as effectively as we could, and I'm glad to see we're moving in that direction. Thank you very much. Parks Manager Davrin, Parks and Recs update.
Is this on? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. All right. Let's see. Parks. Our dog park was closed at the end of last week, temporarily over the weekend. Craig's landscapers over there got on it right away on Monday morning and got rid of the huge broken cracked branch that we had. I don't know if it cracked during that little wind we had the other day. I think we had like a weather advisory or something. So the dog park was reopened in the afternoon yesterday. We are still out of little doggy bags. They're on order, so bring your own if you're going over there. There is not going to be a Renaissance Fair this year due to lack of planning, due to not knowing how Measure C was going to end up. That's a circuit, so most of the vendors and the performers are booked almost a year in advance. So we're going to postpone that until next year. However, our Park Commission would like to do a fall free concert for you guys in the park on October 20th. They need money to sponsor the band. No donation is too small. They're trying not to ask you guys, City Council, for any funds to do this event. It would be like a food truck and concert in the park. So we're working on that. If anybody would like to make a donation, they can contact me over at the Strata. And Carlinda's in the audience today. She might be able to say more later on if anybody had any other questions on it. Sounds like a fun night, though. Our blood drive is this Thursday in the Arts and Community Building from 1 to 7 p.m. Red Cross is very short of blood in August every year, especially O positive. I got another email on that. And I've had about, 30 texts and calls to my phone because I'm on their little site that they keep texting and emailing, and they're really trying to get people to come out and donate if it's possible. They're looking for new donations, new donors, and I think they're also giving like it was an Amazon gift card or something. So if you contact their their website, they give a little gift card or something if you come out and donate. The pool is going well, but the kids are already back to school. It seems like they went back a little earlier this year than last year even. Our pool hours are going to change from daily on 8/20. They'll begin to just be open on Thursday and Saturdays after 8/20 because the rest of I have I think a few guards that are going to they're in high school, and then I have a few more that are starting college on 8/20. So we're going to be able to accommodate just Thursday night and Saturday nights, and we also are still going to be doing pool rentals. We still can be doing private swimming lessons, and our adult exercise program is going to continue through the end of the month with the guards we have left. And then our very last day is Monday on Memorial Day. That's our farewell to summer. Labor Day, I'm sorry, not Memorial Day. Labor Day is our final hurrah for the pool, and then after that we are officially closed. And that's all I have for you tonight.
Thank you very much. So the phone number, if someone needs to call you to make a donation, is 760-373...
3530.
There we go, 3530. Thank you very much. Sounds like a lot of fun. City Manager Stockwell, city updates.
Last Friday we had a very productive meeting with the golf course group, sort of an ad hoc group. Included the men's club from the course, as well as council members Paris and McGuire. and had some really good input in trying to decide where we need to go and finding a direction. And we will be making some recommendations at the end of the meeting on what to do with the golf carts. And we also have an additional alternative on what to do with the golf carts to bring up then as well. But positive input, a lot of focus on getting the course back, not just the way it was, but improving it and making it into the asset that it really ought to be for the community. And so we see and hear lots of good things coming from that group. And we'll be calling upon them whenever we can to assist us in as we staff up or finally makes a decision on how long-term management is going to go, to rely on some volunteer assistance in addition to the employees that we're bringing online to keep the maintenance up as best we can. As the chief mentioned, we got together last week, pulled together all of the players in the city that have to do with code enforcement, and mapped out a direction to take on how better to get a hold of the situations. You know, we've been going with only one code enforcement officer since early this year, and that's far more work than one can do, and we've been able to accomplish some things. But as we are able to recruit for and fill that position and staff up, we will be handling these things in a much more cohesive manner. We started doing some training on a program that we have called iWorks that we use for our building permits tracking, to blend into that also what we do with code enforcement. So we can track and be reminded when we need to go back and do a much better job of staying in touch with people who need to be responding to what they're going to do with their properties. And if we can't find anybody, that we've gone through the necessary steps to be able to move forward. And so the goal being that that these derelict properties throughout the city will start disappearing and be replaced either by improved buildings or vacant lots, so that we can get rid of those and encourage people in the neighborhoods who are doing an excellent job of maintaining their houses, even in the midst of some of the chaos that's going on around them, to complement their work and get the neighborhood back to where it really ought to be. We've made a couple of site visits and meetings talking about alternative electrical generation as we look at how do we ramp up for being able to bring on the new businesses. In some ways it's discouraging, and in others we're seeing some positive direction, but continue to work with the business community in identifying any realistic means where we can get the electrical system expanded and more robust, and being able to allow businesses to come online and do all that they're capable of, instead of being limited by some artificial ceiling on the amount of electricity available. So that's going to be an ongoing process that we're going to continue to discuss and seek solutions for, and hopefully not too far down the road be able to bring to the council some hard things that we can, hard and fast things that we can do to take on some of that responsibility ourselves, and as we work with both Southern California Edison and Southern California Gas, as well as other opportunities.
Appreciate that. We really need to move forward, particularly, as I mentioned earlier, on the appearance of our community and how we address those things pretty rapidly. The other thing is, what do you need from council as far as looking at the way our ordinances are written now to make improvements? Because my experience in working with code enforcement over the last few years was that some of the concerns are the material fences that are up, you know, where you have block and wood and wrought iron all in one property, or another thing that's been brought to the attention, and we just haven't done anything with it. We haven't really addressed those ordinances yet, we need to. Also, the vehicles on properties, garage doors must be working, things like that. If you need us to do that, we need that direction, and we need to start having those workshops to get those titles in the municipal code done. Because that'll help.
We've got enough authority in the code now to keep us busy. But
yeah.
Yes, as we go through that, we'll identify things that may need to be tweaked.
Okay.
The process is, for people who cooperate, we always get where we need to go. It's the ones who don't, and that's what the codes are all written for. So as we identify those, we'll bring them forward.
Appreciate it.
But yet to use the tools we got right now very aggressively and in the way I think they were intended to be done.
Thank you very much, sir. Christian, did you have anything to say with regard to League of Cities? You wanted to talk with us?
Only that I know that I'm not sure to what degree the council's been involved with that in the past, and I do highly recommend the council, one or two or as many as can go, involvement with that. They do hold an annual conference this year, or this year it'll be in Long Beach. It is a really good opportunity to, one, hear about the issues that are going on in California, the latest information on the hottest topics, but more importantly, just to interact with other council members and kind of get an idea of how everything works, and it's just a good way to mix and to learn about how things are done in other cities, get ideas about what could be done here. There's also a lot of resources there in terms of, if there is an idea you want to implement, companies and other things that you can get to give you more information, maybe provide services, things of that nature. But it's just it's designed for cities. There's different groups for city attorneys, for public works directors, for city clerks, and of course for council members as well, even city managers, where they get to interact together and talk, and even there's an email listserv if you get involved with that, to say, hey, I've got this question. Have you ever dealt with this problem before? It's the one resource where cities come together to try and collectively do a better job and come up with better ideas. And so I only mention that because it is something, I'm not sure to what degree we've been involved in the past. It is worthwhile, and it will help bring greater opportunities, I think, to the city. So it's just something I wanted to throw out there and mention as something that's available. That is on September 12th through the 14th.
Okay, gentlemen, think about it. That's something, that's important to our community, and to bring these things back. Thank you, Christian. AB 1234 council updates. Anyone?
I don't have any.
I have nothing.
I attended the Air Quality Control Board meeting this last Thursday. They chose a new chairman, which is me. Mr. Scrivener said he had too many other things to do, so I got, as the lowest man there, elected to be the commissioner, or to head it. So we have no new business. We just put together the budget and approved it for this coming year, 2018-2019.
Thank you, sir. Councilman? Yes, a couple of things real quick here. I have Kern Council of Governments on this Thursday night, but it's come to my attention there's some bad information going on being passed in our community about these 14 portable chargeable message signs that I talked about just a few weeks ago. Actually, before I went on vacation, so it's been a couple of months. But the city of California City is not paying a penny for these things. Not a penny. We're not paying $60,000. I've heard various numbers. On Thursday night, the action is to award the bid for the 14 portable chargeable message signs to a particular company. That's, providing we approve that. I see it going in that direction. And then those are going to be, each one of the municipalities in Kern County are going to be provided with one of those message signs, the highway message signs, to use for traffic control and other pertinent weather things. I mean, not for garage sales or yard sales or anything. But with the understanding that if Caltrans ever needs these for an emergency situation, they'll come and scoop them up from us, but they will return them after. So this will be a very valuable piece of equipment in our community, but we are not, I repeat, we are not paying a penny for this. So if you know of people that are out there saying those things, please correct them. That's not the truth. Another thing, too, folks had asked me, this was also in Kern COG. This is a prior Kern COG event, but I need to bring this back to your attention. Back in May, we talked about the Kern County Homeless Collaborative combating homelessness. Well, on Monday, yesterday, they had a meeting. I wasn't aware of it, plus I was out on another meeting. I'm going to leave this information for those. There were people in the audience that were interested in getting involved in the fall counting of homeless throughout Kern County. I'm going to leave this information as a lobby copy and also the package that we received in the lobby for anyone to take down information and contact them if you want to be involved in this. This is very important for all our communities. And finally, also as lobby copies, as a part of that same meeting, I have a veterans resource book. You can get these free. Just call somebody, but I'll put a lobby copy out. And there's a Veterans Service Department and another Homeless Collaborative flyer. So I'll put these in the lobby for people to refer to. You can get these yourself by making a phone call, but it's very important that we get involved. Other than that, that's all I have. So we're moving on to community, civic, and organization announcements. Any community, civic, or organization announcements tonight?
Hi, Christy Munt. On behalf of Meals on Wheels, just wanted to say a very big thank you to Mary Corona. She has retired. She has served our city well, and I am stepping in her place. So we look like we have about 4 new drivers possible. So if anybody's interested, please message me. I have it out on Facebook. We want as many drivers as we can get so everybody can volunteer a little bit less. So thank you very much.
Christy, thank you for taking that on, and you'll see me in January. I'll be back on the schedule.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Bye-bye.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, community. As Brenda alluded to you that back in July, we wanted to have one of our Concert in the Park series, but unsure of what was going to happen. We postponed that, so now we want to put that back on the table. It is going to be a free concert to the public. We have a fantastic band that's coming from Tehachapi. They're called Blue Steel. I don't know if any of you have heard of them, but they play at Jawbone a lot. We want to have games for the children. Nice. The theme is Come Unity. Community, but come unity. It's time that our city comes together as one. We won't have as many break-ins if I'm watching your house and you're watching my house. When I see somebody that doesn't belong there, I call. I know that's my neighbor and they don't belong there. We can only be unified if we stand together as one. We are a great city with a rich history, and if we come together, break bread together, learn each other, become neighbors, we can become a unity, a unified body, a place where we can raise our children, take care of our seniors, and enjoy life. We are not Los Angeles. I don't want that element here. I want them run out of town by sundown. I told that to the chief a while back. Why can't we bring those days back? Be out of town by sundown. Don't let the sun catch you in Cal City, because we're not about that life. We're about life. And the only way we can do that is if we come together as a community. We came together for Measure C, and I know we can come together and say, hey, I know you, you know me, I don't know you, what's your name? I don't know you, what's your name? And let's come together. Let's bring that unity back. Remember the days, those of you who have been here for a while, when you used to have the Sunday dinners at the park? Remember those days when everybody brought a dish and everybody knew everybody? We can bring that back. We can have a place that we're proud of, that our children are proud of. And that's what we need. So please, when you see the posters, when you see the signs, tell your neighbors, come out. It's going to be a fun time from 2 to 7, October 20th at the park. Let's come and unite. Let's be one. Let's bring our chairs. We're going to have 2 food trucks. Games for the kids, I already said that. I don't want to ramble. But it's going to be a fun time. Oh, and we're going to have sidewalk art. So they're going to do the sidewalk art in the morning, and then at 2 o'clock you can come and you can judge it. And we're going to have different prizes for the best sidewalk art. So come out. Come out. Come out.
Very well said, Carolinda. It sounds very exciting. Any more civic community organization announcements?
Chickens are carrying salmonella. There's
Thank you, sir.
Oh, that doesn't sound like it's on. Trent. There you go.
Thank you. Good evening. DJ Tuig representing mycalcity.org. Our group met last month, third Thursday. We'll meet again this month, third Thursday, which is this coming Thursday. One of the subjects I've been asked to discuss is the possibility of holding an elections forum, meet the candidate event. I know also wanted to tell you each thank you for your service. I know some of you, according to the papers, may not be going again, but however, we want to thank you. And for those that are campaigning this election cycle, we'd like to get information so we can present your platform. We've actually received our first sponsor today, and so we're grateful for that, and more information will come. If you have any questions, please contact mycalcity.org. Again, thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir, very much. Those are important to, vet your candidates individually.
Lou Peralta, California City, EDC. We'd like to invite everyone for this coming Thursday morning, not in the evening, but Thursday morning at 8 o'clock for our monthly EDC breakfast. This year is going to be this month is going to be a great breakfast. DJ Tuig is hosting the breakfast in his house. Thank you, DJ. Just kidding, of course. It's going to be at the Coyote Cafe. 8 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. So make that date. Those of you who are interested in see what's happening now that we've gotten through this big hurdle and we're planning ahead, I invite you to come over and not only listen, but also bring some ideas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lou. Any other organization? Mary, are you coming up? Okay.
Good evening, Mary Wadey speaking. Representing Inspiring Adolescents. School is back in, and this year we'll be conducting an after-school reading program, which we did last year, and I want to thank Councilman Paris for his assistance with the use of his building on different occasions. Inspiring Adolescents is looking for donations, is requesting for donations. One, we need some portable folding tables and folding chairs to accommodate the additional students that we will have this year. The after-school reading program will be at 9036 California City Boulevard, Suite B, next to H&R Block. Inspiring Adolescents will also be hosting a couple of events. One of them has to do with the Edwards Air Force Base Flight Test Historical Museum. They're having a fundraiser in Lancaster, which is a dinner. And what Inspiring Adolescent did last year was brought along 2 students from the high school who wanted to come, and they received volunteer community service hours because it was to generate a culture when it comes to working in the career field, whether it's military or whether it's with a corporation in support of STEM and in support of aerospace programming. But the purpose of inviting the students is to give them an idea of what it's like to be in a culture of professionals. Also, another event that will be happening, that event will be October 13th, Saturday, October 13th at the fairgrounds. The next event will be a youth leadership conference held at University of Southern California, USC, on October 20th, which is where Inspiring Adolescents takes students who are willing to attend the youth conference. It is given by the Omega Educational Foundation, which this year will be their 25th year. And what we're asking for, again, is donations because we do need transportation. And normally we rent 15-passenger van to take the students, but preferably we would like to have our own van. So if anybody have any money, van, vehicle, anything of that sort to donate, we'll take it. Also in November, I believe about November 17th, that's a Saturday, this will be the 7th year that Inspiring Adolescents will be giving the Thanksgiving basket food giveaway. We will be starting the request for donation canned goods, non-perishables, and then if you bring any perishables such as meats such as ham, turkey for a dinner, vegetables, we ask that that be brought maybe like a day before that Saturday, like the 16th or the 15th. And the high school normally accepts the donations for us because that's where we do the Thanksgiving food baskets giveaway. So every year we get an increase of about 20 to 25 people. So last year we did about 75 baskets.
Thank you very
And
much.
One more thing.
Your time has expired.
Okay. And there's also going to be another youth leadership conference in March.
Thank you.
At the University of Laverne.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more civic community organization announcements?
I don't know if it's really an announcement.
Or we can move, hold on just a minute, Deb. If there's no more civic communities, can we move to public business from the floor? Yes, let's move to public business from the floor. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the City Council on any matter not on this agenda and over which the City Council has jurisdiction. Please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Debbie, go ahead. Pull it down, though, so you can speak into it. There you go.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I can just read this, right? What I wrote. Okay, I'm standing here again in front of you, being forced to face my fears for the sake of my child. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Debbie Schiller-Phones. My daughter, Deborah, was just 23 when she was murdered at Cal City Park, June 26, 2016. As I stand here now, it's been 778 days that her killer has been walking around thinking they got away with murder. So long that our case has been called a cold case and been added to a long list of unsolved homicides in this town. It escapes my understanding why citizens of this town have seemingly become accustomed to living with so many murderers possibly in their midst. Why they've become so complacent with these facts rather than demanding answers. Prior to my daughter's murder, I lived in a carefully constructed bubble. There's a good chance that those of you sitting up there won't understand this concept fully. And I say that because your presence there proves that you have no need of such things. I don't like people. I do not seek out any kind of social interaction beyond the few bubble-worthy humans I have. I don't watch the news. I don't read newspapers. I have no idea what's going on in the world today. I don't deal with politics. I don't deal with organized religion. Unless something becomes bubble affecting, I don't deal with it. On the Sunday evening that Sergeant Hayes came to my door to inform me my daughter was dead, my bubble started to deteriorate quickly. Suddenly someone who avoided strangers like the plague is now seeking out anyone with possible answers. I had put myself in situations that could have ended badly for myself in search of answers. I've been on the news repeatedly. I've called out her killer. I've done hours and hours of research. I've hung flyers. I've dealt with private investigators. I've spoken with elected government officials. I've put up billboards. I've staged a crime scene. I've cried. I've screamed. I've yelled. I've cussed. I've pissed people off. And I've referred to a cop as my friend and my hero. And that's just some of the things I've done. I missed my bubble. Sergeant Hayes has done his best, but the small amount of time he's been allowed to work on it. I understand these things can take time, and sometimes they get stuck. This isn't stuck. And it's only cold because Sergeant Hayes is in training this week, as he's been several times in the past, not necessarily this week, but in the past, where he's out patrolling, handing out tickets to speeders. When he's not having to do those things, he's dealing with paperwork concerning every crime that happens in this town, and not dealing with daily crime occurring here as well. In part because of budget issues, and in part, I feel, because of poor management. Now that all this tax stuff is over, is the city and the chief finally going to cover all the necessary bases to permit the detectives to start doing detective work? Will there be money allotted to cover someone being hired to help the investigators do their job instead of them doing everyone else's job? I'm fully aware that currently we only have 10 officers, and I don't blame the ones who left for leaving, and I'm thankful for the ones that stayed, but there are way too many killers walking around here for anyone to feel safe at the moment. I fully believe that of the 5 unsolved homicides and 3 unsolved missing persons, most only need time and attention paid to them in order to be solved. The answers are there, but they can't be found by detectives handing out speeding tickets. And that's it, I guess. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Alan Bell, Cal City. About 6 months ago, came and asked where was the emergency preparedness plan. We're required to have one. Where are we on it now? And who do you ask or see about it? And when will it be completed? And show the public that we really do care about our community, the people who are in charge. And if you don't care, just say so, that's all.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes. Good afternoon. Sorry? Closer to the mic. I'm here. Hi. We want to propose...
Oh, excuse me, ma'am. Can you state your name, please?
Oh, sorry. My name is Mercedes Aderio.
Thank you. Proceed.
Yes, thank you. We want to propose a regulation for the protection of dogs that are exposed to hot weather all day long, recently exposed to 110 degrees, even in the shade. And even when they have water, after some time, it is warm. Many times we have to give water to a neighbor's dog as the animal was panting and lethargic. And there was a recent case of a dog that suffered a stroke for being left outside. The animal shelter didn't have enough money to perform an autopsy to find the owners. So it would be proper to also, if possible, to increase their budget. This situation happens during winter too. The dogs are outside and the very low temperature. We think that some owners have dogs instead of alarms. And so I think that it would be very important to raise awareness of the suffering of these caring and loyal creatures. That's all.
Ma'am, I got one question. Were the dogs that stroked out,
Yeah.
were they tied up?
It was tied up, but it couldn't reach the water. But the problem with dogs is even the water is outside and they are not tied. The water is extremely hot.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I put my hand on the jacuzzi and it's burning. And it's terrible to see. And we see this not only in the neighbor, but many other dogs.
The reason I'm asking is there is a state law that says an animal can only be tied up, secured for 3 hours. Is it 4 hours? 3? That's what, 3 hours, and then they're supposed to be released and so they can run and get water.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about this. This was the case. I'm talking in general. Even when the animal is outside free, during Senate, I mean, we saw that the animal couldn't have any shade because it's half the body outside and the other one under the other part under the shade, and it's suffering really. So it's all day. I mean, 24 hours. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Appreciate that. Public business. Any more public business from the floor?
Once again, Lou Peralta. I'm probably going to piss off a few people, which I usually do on a daily basis, so nothing strange. But I'm going to direct this to the people behind me and the people listening to this and the people in the city. You complain, you bitch, moan, and blame everybody for the ills of the city and blame the mayor and the city council people. And here we are getting ready to go to elections, and we have, and this no disrespect to those of you who are running, but we have some of the folks that have been here before. And I just wish that some of the people who speak the loudest come here to these meetings and say it in front of everybody before, instead of hiding behind a keyboard, and then run. Try to run. Try to get your ideas across, because that's what's going to make the changes. Otherwise, we might wind up having the same old, same old. We go into some pretty exciting times right now, and we need changes. We need some fresh ideas. We need some great ideas. Even if your idea isn't very good, sometimes a bad idea can be turned into a good one because other people get input and generate some better actions. So I call upon you. I think it's too late. Is that correct, Mayor? Is it too late to sign up?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow is a drop
By
dead.
5 p.m. I mean,
by 5 p.m.
And that
Okay,
means
well,
everything has to be done by 5.
everything has to be done. So I'm calling on our fellow citizens, especially those of you who, do all the griping all the time and complaining and naysayers, to come up here and sign up. Get your required signatures. Go see Denise, pay your fee, and sign up, and then state what you want to see happen to the city. That's one thing. Secondly, this is directly to the city. We need to beautify this place. I know we don't have a whole lot of money, but we can do a lot of things without a lot of money, let me tell you. Beautification of Main Street is most important. That's our calling card. When people come in here, especially those who come in to use our deserts and camp out and so forth, that's the door. That's the front door they come into the city, and it's got to look better than it does today. I brought up an idea a while back, and it was kind of poo-pooed and thrown in the backyard or whatever, but I'm still going to bring it up because it's important. We got to beautify this city, and it's got to start with City Hall, Mayor. Why do we park all those cars in front of City Hall? I mean, you got plenty of parking. If you want to park your cars, park it in my house. But you shouldn't park. No one should park. Right? No one should park in front of City Hall. We got to make City Hall look beautiful. The grass is dead where those cars park. It doesn't look very good. My goodness, that's our home. That's the front door. That's the front facade of this city. It's got to be made look better than it does. It doesn't look good at all. Let me just say that. So I urge you, Mayor, because you're a kick butter at times and can get things done.
Butt kicker.
Oh, butt kicker. But I didn't want to say that because everybody says that.
Yeah, they take it the wrong way.
Everything else already.
Well, yeah, I know.
Why not? Just throw that out there.
Isn't that nice that you can chime in? Anyway, but yeah, we have to do this. We really have to do this. And I implored to you, Mayor, as long as you're here in the city, and those of you who are running again, and those of you who may get elected, thank you very much, that make that one of your priorities because it's very important. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Understand. Just to explain what we've been trying to do is we're letting the grass lapse for the reason of one day doing something on a desert. But look what's happened. You know, we've had third times a charm tax pass. 2 didn't pass. You know, we're in a flux. And really, this parking lot out here just isn't sufficient for the people that come and pay their bills anymore. I mean, it's just too small. We have nowhere for folks to park when they come to park here. They park along the roadway, and I don't know about you. I'm still a fairly good driver, but there will come a time when it will be a challenge to go, you know, without worrying about hitting a vehicle in that narrow area. And we don't have a whole lot of room on the other side, and that gets filled up too. But yes, Lou, you're right. It doesn't look good. We've got to do something about it, and we'll triage that as quickly as we can. You were about to say something, Craig?
Yeah, obviously we were kind of not wanting to spend money on projects not knowing what was going to happen. So that I met with Ann last week, and we're actually looking and targeting what we originally were targeting was the front section from the stairs over.
That's a start.
That's back on the radar.
The vehicle thing, though, Lou, is going to be a challenge because right now people come to work, and then some people that park on the side of the building are in and out of City Hall throughout the day, either doing their job, going on inspections or what have you. So that's a challenge. But we'll work on it. The city will work on this, and their next council will work on this because we have to have a lot of pride in our community. Thank you, Lou. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Christy Mudd again. And I don't get up here very many times and agree with Lou. But I was here about a month ago, and I was very disappointed in our city and the turnout for our citywide cleanup. And I said at the time, if we could only get 9 people to show up for a citywide cleanup, how many people would sign up to run for council? Well, unless things change between now and tomorrow, we have 2 people running for council. Is it okay? Okay, well, at least that, because from what I saw the other day, it was only 2, and those 2 would have automatically been on the council. So, yes, we need to have people. Like I said, I myself will not run because I don't want to be running out of town every time I turn around. I know you get reimbursed for mileage. I just don't want the wear and tear and being away from my animals and my peace and quiet. So I get to be here and complain. So anybody, if you can get your 30 signatures and get here tomorrow, I would love to have new people. As Lou said, it's a lot of same people that have run before. They were not elected one time because they're not there anymore. So we need new ideas. We need something for the future. Something that's going to be forward thinking along with our new cannabis industry and getting our town set for the, now that we're almost 20 years into the 21st century, we need to move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christy.
Christy, you already do more than your part.
Yeah, you do.
Carlinda Batiste again. Graffiti. Graffiti. Can't stand it. Graffiti. When it goes up, I don't know if it's the business owner's responsibility, if it's staff responsibility. When you're coming into town, the first thing we see on the first building should not be graffiti. We have graffiti. Desert Jades. My father passed away. He lived at Desert Jades. I moved to Desert Jades because of him. I still walk by his house because it gives me comfort. I look on the sidewalk, graffiti. I have the pictures. I brought them to, I can't remember if I took them to the police department. I gave the pictures to somebody. I still have the pictures. I don't know if we can reimburse the business owner, if out of the goodness of their heart they'll do it, but I cannot stand the look of graffiti. It gives our community a defeated attitude. It gives our community a negative connotation. We are not people that should tolerate graffiti. In 24 hours, when it goes up, we need to send a clear message. It comes down. No graffiti in my town.
I agree, Carolinda. I can say that we reported some graffiti on South Loop. It's been corrected, but we have to take care of it in a timely manner. We have ordinances on the books to take care of these things. We really have to be more proactive. I agree. Thank you for bringing that.
Just a note, on city properties or anywhere within the right-of-way, as soon as we find out about it, it's moved. Now, once on private property, it is the property owner's notice, but it's usually handled through the city to let them know they need to do that. And I think the one she's talking about, I'm aware of, and that is being passed on to be taken care of.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon again. Keith Middleton. I'd just like to comment that we had a great election, and I'm glad it's over, but there's signs all over town, and I'd like to see them removed. I really appreciate the folks that spent their own money and got out and got the signs put up and got it everywhere it needed to be, but we also need to turn around and pull them all down. It goes right along with the graffiti. It's stuff that's not appropriate now. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Yes, we need to get that done. Whoever those signs are, if you're hearing us, please start taking them down soon.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. My name is Ariel Kochani. I just want to talk the same thing she was mentioned about the pets outside. What happens is when it's 110 degrees, even if it's under the shade, it's 110 degrees. Then that's animal cruelty. They cannot be, then suffer more than we suffer. And the water is going to be 100 degrees. And you see people that, so many times even we put water, the pets are outside, and the weather changed. It's getting really hot. And this month is going to be very hot. And just, I want to say, people that abuse animals usually abuse children and abuse other people. And I don't think that's the kind of people we want in this town. And another thing, I talked to the animal protection people, animal control, and they are very good professionals. They're really wonderful. But I don't think there are enough people to enforce the law. And I believe that will be very important, just, as I say, take care of the pets because many other things will change in this town. My question is, any way to do something about that? I mean, it's a regulation because I hear them say the pets have to be in the shade and water. But again, the shade now is 110. It's not good for the pets.
Yeah.
Then the question is what you can do about that.
Okay, this is the best man to answer that question. So, Chief,
Okay.
there's two parts to it: the cruelty person and the people.
Yeah. So, right now we have one animal control officer. Sorry.
Yeah, I understand.
So I'm kind of looking at Mary. I believe it's going out this week or next week. Since the Measure C did pass, we're trying to fill quickly all the available positions we have. We do have vacancies for animal control. We do have a lot of volunteers that work at the shelter, but we need to try to fill as many of our vacant positions as possible, and animal control is one of them. So it kind of comes hand in hand. As soon as we get more of our animal control officers out there, we can address these issues.
Even the law, because I think if you change the law, make clear that whether it's changing and it's not good for the animal, I mean, they could do that too. I mean,
Yeah.
who is the one who will change or enforce the regulation?
I'll get with the animal control officer. We'll look at the city ordinance to see if there's something we can clean up a little bit and make it.
And then they'll bring it to us, sir, and then we'll act on it. Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for your comments. Very much appreciated.
Hannah
Yes, ma'am.
White. I just wanted to let everybody know that we at CCHS are having a volleyball game tomorrow. It is at 3. There will be 3 games. We have a hybrid team, a JV team, and a varsity team. Thank you.
What's a hybrid team?
I think it's combined. Like if you're not eligible to be on the varsity team, or they just made a new team. It's combined, like with the grades, because I'm a junior, so I couldn't my level of being able to play. I would be probably put on the hybrid team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much, Hannah. Appreciate that.
Jane Riding, California City, for many years. In about the last month, I had an opportunity to look at the contracts for the sale of the city or the redevelopment agency's land to Meister & Meister, Canna Pharmaceuticals, and 2 others. And I was simply appalled at the terms upon which the redevelopment agency was sold. To this date, there's been no money come into this city to help it with its bad financial condition. All of the contracts are now in default. You on the council sit in a fiduciary position to protect the people and the assets of the city, and you need to take your responsibility seriously and review the contracts that are now in default to perhaps bring them in where some money could come into the city and perhaps help with financial conditions that are here now. Yeah, the proposition for $182 passed, but wouldn't it have been nice if we hadn't had to go through that, because the city council, the admin, the attorney hadn't pushed, not you, Bob, hadn't pushed contracts that didn't give 1 penny to the people of this city.
Okay, Jane, you need to understand something. The RDA money, the RDA properties, we don't get any money off those. And the reason for that is that we sent, and most people have been following this for a long, long time. We had to do basically a property disposition plan. We did that. That's approved by the state of California. When we sell those properties, the money from those properties goes right to take care of our redevelopment agency debt. We don't get to take any money off that. So, and it gets split up, but we can't do that.
Because of the way the contracts read.
Well, we are going to be addressing that on what, the 24th again? I'm sorry, what date? 28th, forgive me, 28th. It's just a 4-day difference. But anyway, the 28th, we're going to be, I think that's coming back to council for some review. But we don't get that money. We have to pay our debts off that money. And on the contracts, which we'll talk more about, we'll have to come up with money to pay our portion back. Yes, sir?
Madam Mayor, if it's not coming on the 28th, I think the council should make a motion to direct Mr. Stockwell to bring it back to us, at least Meister and Canna Pharmaceuticals.
I think we should bring all of them back and not cite individuals. We did all of these the same way, so we need to look at all of them the same way. Is that what we are thinking about doing, sir?
For what was going on, we'll bring it up to date, put it on the agenda.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Yes, sir.
Good evening again, Al Hudson. Bootstrapping on Jane. Any person that or entity that bought RDA property for the purpose of cannabis development should pay an extension fee when they want an extension of the contract on the performance, and it should be a sufficient amount to encourage completion. I would suggest a $100,000 completion bond. My next comment is, now that Measure C has passed, there's apparently more than sufficient funds in the general fund. We should be using a combination of Measure C and the general fund to pay our firefighters and police a retention salary. Let's raise their salaries up so that they don't, and benefits up so that they don't want to leave and they want to stay. It just makes plain and simple good sense. The next item is why in the world was the water rate study of 2014 removed from the city's website, that we can't study it anymore? And as well as the archives. My next question is, what is the status of that $500,000 paperweight?
Let the mayor direct it to the mayor.
Oh, okay. I still like to know. And the next question is, with the payment of the water for the lake at $42,700, darn near $700,000, how are the aerator pumps working? Because if the water's not aerated, we're going to have algae buildup and every other bad thing that happens with that. And then the next question is, when is the IRWIMP report coming out? You know, we've paid out a lot of money. When are we going to get the contributions on that paid to us? And I think that those are my questions right there. Could I have answers?
Yes. I don't know why the water rate study was removed from the. It's not been. It's still there. Okay, it's still there.
It's not accessible.
What do you mean? It's on the web page.
Go to it.
It doesn't have a link. Oh, I can look. I guess somebody can look on their cell phone that can access the web.
Bring something up forward
and then
unless it's true.
Status of the $500,000 vote anchor, paperweight, whatever you want to call it.
That's a subject of litigation.
Okay, can't talk about that. All right, and then the specific $42,000 in the lake. I'm not sure I'm clear on your question.
How are the aerator pumps doing?
I don't know, but I'll ask.
You check with.
I'm sorry.
The aerators are there, but they're absolutely
Oh, well, I didn't know.
cosmetic. They absolutely serve so little function. It's the circulation of the whole lake that needs to be dealt with.
Okay,
Okay,
and the Irwin, sir.
I
Anything
think
on the Irwin
that's
report?
it right there. Okay, thank you.
The Irwin's in the last stages of development. We have a meeting and we're reviewing the actual final document right now. The salt nutrient plan was submitted for review to the state. And the water agencies right now, like I said, are reviewing the actual thing. The city paid nothing for that. That's actually an roughly $40,000 grant. It was a planning grant. We've already have received benefit of that, which was the $160-something thousand grant for the DAC, which is the disadvantaged communities. That was part of the whole Lahontan region from Northern California, Southern California, or down to our region to actually split a large sum of money. We went in as the pool. That was a year ago, roughly. We were applied for that, and that project is going right now, which are the two water projects on the north and south side of the city, from Hacienda to Yerba on both sides.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you.
Contributors.
Thank you, Al.
And when is the June financial statements coming out?
June financial statements are out.
They're out. They'll be posted on the web. I happened to look when I got here. They'll be posted tomorrow morning.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
Okay, any more public business from the floor?
Good evening, Mary Wadey speaking again. I forgot one more thing with Inspiring Adolescents. The after-school program is on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 5. It'll be starting on August 21st. We'll be gaining a couple of more volunteers, which will give us more days. But right now, it's on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 5. My question is for, since we're going through a lot with the city council and that election is coming up, how does the oversight committee work? And when does those changes come in, when they change the people on the oversight committee? And how often do they have their meetings? And then also, I was at the East Kern Economic Alliance, and it was mentioned about a summit on, I think it's Santa Barbara. Is East Kern Economic Alliance the ones that's hosting the program? Okay, so I wanted to get a clarification on the date for the summit, and I believe it's in Santa Barbara, correct?
I don't have that information.
Okay.
It's not put on by the East Kern Economic Alliance.
Okay, because I left my notes at home, so
Got it. Sorry.
I just wanted to clarify on that. But my question is about the oversight committee. What is their purpose, and how often do they change members, and how often do they have their meetings?
Well, I need clarification from you. Which oversight committee?
The oversight committee that's listed on the city's website, not the advisory committee, the oversight committee that's listed on the on Cal City's website.
The oversight board for the RDA, the successor agency? Mm-hmm. It's gone to county now. County actually managed that. Mm-hmm. Kern County.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else from public business from the floor?
Madam Mayor, Council, with what Mr. Hudson said regarding raises for our public safety, to be able to say how much we appreciate our public safety, I think it would be certainly appropriate that if anybody's going to be getting a raise in our city staff, the public safety should be honored for their training, understand why our police officers leave, understand why our firefighters leave, but certainly grateful for the ones that stay. And I would encourage you, Madam Mayor and Council, to ponder that. It's a big deal when someone saves a life. Sergeant Hightower definitely needs to be recognized, and I would encourage you, Council, to recognize him. The benefits of Nixle, I think it was about 11 minutes after the Nixle went out in regards to that the break-in on North Loop in Conklin. I think it was 11 minutes that the airport staff called it in. Pretty impressive. Thankful we have a working police chief that was out there. Pretty impressive. And Nixel's pretty important. If people get aggravated by having Nixel come across her phone, then take it off. But pretty beneficial. So I think it should be commended. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Any more public business from the floor? Going. Moving on to the consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are considered routine and non-controversial and will be approved by one motion if no member of council, staff, or public wishes to comment or ask questions. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes, and a roll call vote is required. The consent calendar tonight consists of CC1, approval of check register dated through August 9th, 2018. CC2 is minutes dated February 27th, 2018, March 21st, 2018, and May 8th, 2018. And we waive the reading of subject minutes and approve as written, order, and file. Anyone on consent calendar from the public? He's good?
Just approved.
We haven't even voted yet. Just hold on a second. Al Hudson's up just to catch you up to date. I don't know what happened there, but Al, you're up.
Okay, I just checked. The water rate study is not accessible online.
Yeah, but this is the consent consent calendar.
I'm just giving you an update on that. Now, on the check register, check number 103-323 to Nagel Earthworks for $116,756.03.
I'm
not going to ask what it was. I want to finish.
Go ahead.
Where's the RFP on that?
Okay. Now can I answer?
Sure.
Okay. That is the CBDG grant. The RFP was put out a long time ago for that. This is just the check that goes to them. We're going to be reimbursed for that amount of money. Is that correct, Bob? Yep. So this is that handicap accessible restroom in Balsitis Park. Community Development, CBDG, for those that don't know, Community Development Block Grant money. It's federal grant money.
Okay.
Managed by the Kern County, the County of Kern.
Okay, what kind of work was done on that?
Go out there. It's a brand new facility. It's a prefab, modular, very nice, ADA accessible restroom. Right at the park, not the ballpark, but by the park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Check 103-325 to National Meters. That was for $267,159.75 for meter replacement. How many meters were replaced?
That's the supply of the meters he just talked about. This is the third and final of the meter replacement project. This is the final year. And I think you gave us a number of those. It was 1,000. Hold on, let me go back here. Or maybe it was up here. If somebody can access it faster, it's 1,040. I knew I'd get there somewhere. I do write things down.
1,040.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we're using fresh water to water TDS and Par 3 and fill the lake. That's what, $150,000, just over $150,000 on those three. I think the previous one of the previous grand jury reports, when Tom Wheel was city manager, said that we were going to stop that. So there we go.
Like all changes, you have to begin somewhere. And so during the past several months, we have been switching over from the secondary system to I'm switching from our primary water system to the secondary. So these bills will continue to go down month after month, but we couldn't stop irrigating. So yeah, there's still money being spent using the city's water system instead of irrigation. And we'll be bringing a project forward to the council on how we ultimately get out of that process altogether. And so sometime between now and December, we shouldn't be using any culinary water anywhere on the parks or at least on the Central Park and the golf courses.
Okay, because in the grand jury report, Tom Wheels' response was that they would be putting in a purple pipe to run tertiary water instead of potable water.
I think we can probably give you Mr. Wheel's number and you can give him a call.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Lots of problems to triage, and we're working them as fast as we can with the resources we have. Anyone from the public have anything else on the consent calendar?
Mayor.
Anyone before I move up here?
Mayor.
Yes, sir. Wait.
Real quick
you,
on.
I'm sorry.
Can we pull check number 103-293? That member we had to cancel at the last minute, so he won't need that per diem. That's 103-293.
Also, someone's informed me that they can't hear at home.
There's a volume problem at home. What? Okay, that's already been voided. Thank you, sir. Let me just make a note here. So I don't know why anybody can't hear at home. Maybe somebody can dial in on a phone here and see if they can hear it. Okay. Anyone else from the public and or staff? Okay. Council, any questions on CC1 or CC2?
All my questions got answered.
Okay, sir, council? All right. With that, I'm looking for a, Councilman Stump, did you have any questions on the consent calendar?
I had no questions, and earlier when I was confused by what Councilman McGuire said to me, that's why I said approve.
No problem. But from now on, we're going to roll call anything while you're where you're at. Okay, so at this time, council, looking for a motion on the consent calendar.
Make the motion we approve.
Second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, could you roll call us, please?
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Stump?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez?
Yes.
Mayor Wood?
Yes, thank you very much. We're going into a continued public hearing called CPH1, which is the initial study and negative declaration for a zone change, ZC-190 of the General Plan, Amendment GPA 190 for Deborah Volpin and Public Works Director Platt. I believe you have that. Can you see over there? Are the lights too dark for you guys? Can we turn the light? No, can we do something about the lights? Because I don't know how they're reading Braille it. Do you have Braille or? Not that way. Thank you. Okay.
Mayor, public, and council. This is the public hearing that we moved forward. So what we're looking at tonight is the approval of the initial study, the negative declaration, and the general plan amendment 190, GP 190, and the adoption of zone change 190 ZC 90 for Deborah Volpin as forwarded by the Planning Commission at the regular meeting on March 20th, 2018. The product certifies a negative declaration per SEQA in order of a rezone and amend the general plan for one vacant 3.13 acres parcel from O/RA open space residential agricultural to regional commercial C5. The property is located adjacent to State Route 14 and may be identified as APN 225-013-25. What staff is requesting, as forwarded by the Planning Commission, is for the council to adopt the following resolution number 08-18-2747, amending the general plan designation attachment 1, resolution number 08-18-2748, approving the negative declaration attachment 2, and ordinance number 18-763, approving zone change 190 attachment 3.
Sorry, I'm calling the public hearing open. A little late. Got your staff report, though. Was there anything else you want to add before our council questions?
all the documentation has been attached and changed to show the proper distances from California City Boulevard.
Thank you very much, sir. Council, questions?
I have none.
Okay. Councilman? Mayor Pro Tem? Okay.
Gene?
Madam Clerk,
No
Gene.
questions.
He said no questions.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, thank you. Madam Clerk, do you have any communications?
No.
All right, I'm calling for public testimony. Anyone from the public have any questions about this item? Let's not all rush at once. Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have to roll call that too? For closing the public hearing?
I'll second.
Yeah, all votes need to be done by
Okay.
roll call.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, could you roll call us on closing the public hearing by motion?
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Stump?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez?
Yes.
Mayor Wood?
Yes, thank you very much. Council discussion. Any other additional discussion?
No, I'm good.
I'm not seeing any faces wanting to get ready to talk or anything. All right, looking for a motion, and we have 3. So you're going to take the first one. Let's go with the first one. I'll just go ahead and read it. Looking for a motion to adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of California City approving a negative declaration of environmental impacts, Resolution 18-18-2747.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Stump?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez?
Yes.
Mayor Wood?
Yes. Are y'all hearing him, by the way? Okay, good, very good. Now we're going to do a second one. This is to adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of California City amending the general plan designation of an area from open space residential agricultural, O/RA, to regional commercial zone C5, Resolution 08-18-2748.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Stump?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez?
Yes.
Mayor Wood?
Yes. Now, item number 3, we're giving the first reading by title only with further reading waived. An ordinance of the City Council, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of California City rezoning a 3.13 acre parcel located 2.5 miles north of California City Boulevard on the east side of State Highway 14 from open space residential agricultural ORA to regional commercial zone C5. That's ordinance 18-763.
Make that motion to approve.
I'll second.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Stump?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez?
Yes.
Mayor Wood?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Now at this time, Councilman Gomez, for public hearing number 1, you're going to state what you're leaving.
I will now recuse myself from my involvement as business owner and property owner in the cannabis business.
And he's doing so for, we moved that item up, so we're
I think
doing
it was 3 items, I think.
Yes. Public hearing number 1, public hearing number 2, and then public hearing number 3, and then CB3, which we moved up to get those 3 or 4 items done. Okay, now that he has left, public hearing number 1. Reading the item, it's the initial study and negative declaration for zone change ZC 18-02, general plan amendment GPA 18-02 for Atil, please if I'm saying this incorrectly, ATTIL Farms CEO Hytham Elsad. Did I say that correctly? Thank you, sir. Public Works Director Platt, I'm calling the public hearing open.
Mayor, Council, and public, again, this is an application was submitted to the Planning Commission and has been forwarded and approved by the Planning Commission and forwarded to this. The applicant proposes to rezone 19.14 acres vacant desert land from open space residential agricultural O/RA to M1 light industrial and C5 regional commercial zone to accommodate future industrial medical cannabis facilities in the industrial zone, and the commercial centers will include food-type establishments and other ancillary facilities to support the industrial facility. The applicant is seeking only zone change approval at this time.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Council, do you have any questions on this particular zone change?
I just have one.
Okay.
Is in that location, because that's going to be by the railroad tracks, by where the Trona trolley runs, we've had a couple major floods there in that area. Is that a flood zone?
No, and actually what transpired when that did flood was the fact that the railroad trestle backed up and the water ran down the railroad tracks and then obviously to CCB. Now there was a FEMA project that actually went in there to actually hope to alleviate that in the future.
From happening again?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Stump?
Yes, no comment.
No questions? Okay.
No questions.
Okay, no questions. So at this time, if there's no more, Madam Clerk, do you have any report on communications?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm calling for public testimony. Anyone from the public have any questions, comments, or concerns?
Good evening, Mayor. Again, DJ Tuhig. With respect to this zone change, 18-02. Just a couple of things real quick. We have approximately 80,000 acres of open space in California City, 202 square miles of land with 640 acres per square mile. There's a tremendous amount of vacant land that's underutilized. This is a highway frontage property. Along these arterial highways, it's appropriate to have industrial and commercial land. Potentially, this could attract the funding and the capital, the forward land planning, which will ultimately potentially result in jobs. So we can support this, ask you to approve the zone change for the future of California City. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else from the public have any questions, comments, concerns on this item? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion to close the public testimony.
Make a motion to close public hearing.
I'll second it.
Madam Clerk, could you roll call us?
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Stump?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez?
Gone.
Abstain. Mayor Wood?
Yes. Moving up here, council. Any council discussion on this item? Going from right to left.
I haven't.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
None.
Pardon me?
None.
None. Okay. All right. Hearing none. Looking for a motion. Oh, by the way, let's do this way. Yep. Let's start with the first one. Is to adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of California City approving a negative declaration environmental impacts, Resolution 0818-2750. Looking for a motion.
Make that motion.
I make that motion.
Okay, he can make it. I'll second it.
Very well. Madam Clerk, could you roll call us?
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Stump?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez? Abstain. Mayor Wood?
Yes. Next recommendation, I'm looking for a motion to adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of California City amending the general plan designation of an area from open space residential agricultural ORA to light industrial and research M1 and regional commercial zone C5, Resolution 0818-2749.
Make that motion.
Second.
Madam Clerk, could you roll call us, please?
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Stump?
Yes.
Mayor Wood?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Looking for a motion on the first reading by title only with further reading waived, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of California City rezoning a 19.14 acre parcel located on California City Boulevard, 2.1 miles east of State Highway 14 from open space agriculture residential ORA to light industrial and research mode M1 and regional commercial zone C5. This is ordinance number 18-764.
I make that motion.
Second.
Madam Clerk, could you roll call us on that?
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Stump?
Yes.
Mayor Wood?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. All right, that takes care of that one. Let's move on to public hearing number 2, medical cannabis permit awards. I'm going to call the public hearing open. City Manager Stockwell, you're going to do the staff report, correct, sir?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mayor, we're happy to report that we have for the council tonight several cannabis permits. We're calling them medical permits because our ordinance still talks about medical, but they are, the intent would be that these would be adult use as well. Those who have gone through the process of being vetted found that they have passed that process and are recommending to the council that we take public comment on this and then award the licenses or the permits to Cal City Paradise for cultivation, manufacturing, Fox Hunter Incorporated for distribution, WLT Wellness for manufacturing, Green Canna Cultivation for cultivation, Green Canna Manufacturing for manufacturing, AL Distribution for distribution, AL Cultivation for cultivation, and AL Manufacturing for manufacturing. Any questions?
Council, do you have any questions? No, ma'am. Do you have questions? No. Councilman Stump? You have any questions?
No question. I can't hear him that well, though.
Okay. Well, what he did, he just essentially read the background on the public hearing number 2 staff summary sheet. So if you have any questions on that.
I can look at it. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. So do we have any council questions then? All right. Ask the city clerk. City clerk, do you have reports on communications on this item?
No, ma'am.
All right. Calling for public testimony. Anyone from the public like to have any questions, comments, or concerns about this item? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion to close the public hearing.
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
Madam, okay. It was seconded by Councilman Paris, but we're going to roll call this, Madam Clerk. Oh, wait. Sorry. Council discussion. Any discussion, second round? No. All right, seeing none, looking for a motion. That's the motion. We have to do that motion. Roll call. Sorry. Back it up. Got a little ahead of ourselves. Closing the public motion, hearing by motion. That's the roll call, please.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Stump?
Yes.
Mayor Wood?
Yes. Now, we don't have any council discussion, so we're going to move on to council motion and vote. The recommendation is to take public comment and award medical cannabis permits. Looking for a motion.
Make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, could you roll call us on that, please?
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Stump?
Yes.
Mayor Wood?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. And at this time, I'll call out those that have the certificates and we'll present them. Thank you. Hold on. A1 distribution and A1 cultivation. Anyone hear from that? From that company? No? Okay. I'll give that back to you. Cal City Paradise. I have 1, 2 for Cal City Paradise. Well, actually, I've got 2 right now here. Unless there's 2. Yeah. Okay, there's 2 cultivation permits granted and the conditional manufacturing. That's for the 3 come. Cal City Paradise. Are they coming?
Yeah.
They are here. Okay.
I'm not sure if that's them, but more people are.
Okay. No? Shaking your head no? Not them? Okay. Then I have conditional distribution permit granted to Fox Hunter. Fox Hunter here? Anyone? All right. There's another one for you. Conditional manufacturing permit granted to Green Canna. What?
Try the microphone. Someone might be
You hear me? All right. For everyone in the audience out there in the lobby, I have the last ones that I have here are conditional manufacturing permit granted to Green Canna Manufacturing for APN 206-04122 and conditional cultivation permit granted for the same APN to Green Canna Cultivation. That would be you, sir? Thank you. Conditional manufacturing permit granted to WLD Wellness. Are you here? Anyone? Okay, that's it. Here you go.
You're it. You're it. You're it. Sure.
Hey, you Thank you, sir. That's it. Go forth and do good things now. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Okay. Now we're going on to public hearing number 3, the proposed ordinance amendment to Article 29, Title 9, zoning, City Manager Stockwell. I've read the item. We're going to open the public hearing and hear staff report. This is public hearing number 3, PH 3. It's at the bottom of the page of that, and it goes on to the top of page 5. Sorry about that, sir.
This is the first step in the process of amending our ordinances to completely do away with the terminology of medical marijuana and to transfer to cannabis. And this one is the zoning portions of that. And establishes where the permitted uses are and where conditional uses are. The significant element of conversation that was on this before the Planning Commission had to do with the radius from licensed cannabis businesses to schools and churches, amongst other identified agencies there. We have printed up some maps.
Do you guys have access to these?
Everyone that's concerned have seen a map like this? Okay. Do we have any extras? Are they back there? What the maps do is on one side of the map it identifies the 600-foot radius, which is what was originally the ordinance as we went forward from there. Yeah. No, they're one on each. Anybody else got an extra? So on the one page it shows the 600 square foot radius from the schools and churches, and then on the other side of it shows you the 1,000 square foot distance, the impact that it has. And I think as you look at those, you recognize that it doesn't, going from 600 to 1,000 doesn't materially diminish the areas in town where cannabis businesses could be located. And so the recommendation from the Planning Commission was to set it at 1,000 feet around those sensitive areas. Those that have identified specifically in the ordinance, it's section 9-2, 2903, subsection 2, a school, college or university, whether public, private, or charter, including preschool, transitional schools, kindergarten, and K2, a church or other house of worship, a daycare facility serving 9 or more children, licensed by the county, and a drug or alcohol rehab facility, and on-site medical. And so based upon those things that we've identified, this would be the impact on the 1,000-foot radius. We don't make much difference whether it's 6 or 1,000 because, as DJ pointed out a minute ago, we happen to have a lot of room. So it looks like there's plenty of room to accomplish all of these things here. So the only other changes in the ordinance would be the identification of the permitted and conditional uses, and also that distance around the facilities. And so with that, staff recommends approval of the ordinance as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Thank you very much. Council, you have any questions on this?
I do, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Stockwell, on this map here, I own a private Christian school, and it's not circled. It would be in front of RPU, but on your Exhibit B map that came with our packet shows it circled. So the one that you handed out to us, it's not there, but I found it is circled on Exhibit B here.
Okay, because the city clerk was about to say yes, it is.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
This is just for illustrative purposes. It's already been identified as a place to be protected.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions, sir?
No.
Do you have any questions? Jean, do you have any questions, Councilman?
No questions.
Okay, this is moving along. Madam Clerk, do you have any report on communications to us tonight?
No, ma'am.
All right, I'm calling for public testimony. Anyone from the public have any comments, questions, or concerns about this item? Anyone?
Again, DJ Tuig, real brief. Certainly in support of the 1,000-foot linear setback for cannabis dispensaries. Additionally, we know that this will go through a CUP. And because of that, I think there still is a lot of controls necessary for the protection of our citizens. And so thank you. I hope you'll adopt this.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else? Yes, yes, sir.
Madam Mayor, Council, very thankful for the Planning Commission to recommend this going back to 1,000 feet. If you remember what it was, churches and parks were struck from the 600 feet proposed. They were going to be taken off of not being treated special, and a business could come within 200 feet of a church or a park. I want to thank you very much for bringing this back at 1,000 feet. I'd also like to and I realize this is just for illustration, but Desert Song Foursquare Church is not circled, but this is just for illustration. So, but thank you very much for bringing this back to 1,000 feet. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your comments. Anyone else from the public have any comments? Okay, seeing none, I'm looking for a motion to close public hearing.
I'll make that motion. We close public hearing.
I'll second.
Madam Clerk, could you roll call that closing of the public motion? I mean, the public hearing motion.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Stump? Stump?
Yes, I had problems pressing my button.
I'm sorry. Mayor Wood?
Yes. Council discussion. Any comments from the council on this item? Gentlemen?
I have none. I'm happy with it.
Did you hear us? Do you have any questions?
I can hear you. No questions.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm looking for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve. And do you want me to read the motion?
Well, the motion is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of California City amending Article 29, Title 9, Cannabis Businesses and Dispensaries. First reading only. Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Madam Clerk, could you roll call us on that item?
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Stump?
Yes.
Mayor Wood?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to CB3. This is the amendments to cannabis business ordinances. This is the council is to discuss and give first reading by title only with further waived of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of California City repealing and reenacting Title 5, Chapter 6 entitled Medical Cannabis Related Businesses and Activities. Turning this over to City Manager Stockwell. Thank you, sir.
As mentioned earlier, this is the process of changing from medical marijuana to cannabis and also adding and clarify some issues involved in that. We did something rather novel with this one. We presented you with an ordinance that has lines and page numbers, so it should be easier for us to walk through what we're what we're talking about tonight. So the one that I will be working from is not the one that we included in the packet. We've got some changes. We passed you out a new one that has
Then give us a second. Sorry, sir.
changes with that. And there's some, if there's some out on the table back there as well.
Do you want to just pass them down?
After putting together the draft that that went to the council, received some further input, and then as I went through reading it again for about the 15th time, recognized there were a few things that need to be done to clarify that. So if we're all on the same page, it's the stapled copy. Start off with page 1. All of the recitals, the issues where we would really start in getting into discussion would be on page, unless there's questions on the definitions, they haven't changed as we've gone through the process, except we've added a few additional ones there. Starting on page 8, be line 294, and it talks about, this is the application process. I think we lost track a little bit there of what we were talking about. As I brought up in the last meeting, I think what I was talking about is that the council ought to do the council's job, and the manager ought to do the manager's job. I think in here we had misplaced. So the change in what is recommended is that the city council shall adopt by resolution the procedures which will govern the application process and the manner in which the decision will ultimately be made, but regarding the issuance of the cannabis permits, except for cannabis dispensaries. We struck that because it comes up later on in the ordinance as a separate issue altogether. And then from that, the city manager will prepare the necessary forms, adopt the necessary rules and regulations, solicit applications, and conduct the evaluation process. So that has the council, the procedures for the application process will be brought to the council where they will be adopted by resolution. Those will then form the basis of what we go through the process of issuing permits from there on. Any questions?
Nope.
The rest are no changes on those pages. Page 9. Down at the bottom, page or line 353, it talks about the manager is authorized to make all decisions concerning the issuance of a renewal permit. In making the decisions, the city manager is authorized to impose additional conditions to a renewal permit if it is determined to be necessary to ensure compliance with newly adopted, repealed, or amended state or local laws and regulations, period. We eliminate the vague language that says to preserve public health, safety, or welfare. And then the appeals from the decision of the city council of the city manager would be as in Article 6. And so I think it removes some ambiguity. What we're really saying is the renewal process follows the established procedures that the council has set by resolution and would only be changed if in midstream an ordinance, a state law, or a state regulation is changed that would allow us to proceed forward when something like that occurs. If the applicant doesn't agree, they can appeal the process there. But it allows us to be able to, the flexibility continuing on even when because if the whole milieu of the cannabis is changing almost monthly. And so we could conceivably see some changes in adopted state regulations and even our own municipal code so that we would allow to make these renewal permits so that we don't bog down that process annually as they go through the renewal. Questions?
None so far, sir. Let's press forward.
Page 10. And this is on a transfer of permits, cannabis business permits, and adds the language, and it starts on page 373, line 373. To clarify that when we talk about the specific locations that a transfer, you can transfer your permit from a location to another location. We wanted to clarify that that location has to meet all of the zoning requirements, including but not limited to distances for identified uses without the need to reapply for a new permit. And so we make sure that everybody as they read this understand you can't move from a permitted zone to a non-permitted zone just because you have a permit. You've got to meet all of the requirements as they currently stand in going to those zones. Questions?
I'm good.
Okay. Press on, sir.
And then the
page 16.
Page 16. Starting in line 625. What was brought up was the wondering if our restriction on alcohol sales needed a bit of clarification. And so what was brought up is that everyone concurs that you should not, a business dispensing cannabis products cannot also sell alcohol. But it was pointed out that, as this happens from time to time in the community, there could be events, so we use the example of a grand opening or a community event, where a person would apply to the city for a permit to serve alcoholic beverages in an activity like that, to clarify that in those cases where it was a permitted event, such as a grand opening or grand opening or a grand opening or a grand opening. What's that?
Grand opening. Maybe a grand.
Yeah, a double grand.
Double grand.
Anyway, I think it makes the point. We can clarify that, or a community event surrounding that, that in those cases, consumption of alcohol on the premises would not be incidental to sale. It would just be simply part of a community celebration that would require approval by the council in any way. And so that's simply a suggestion from the community that might clarify the intent. And when it talks about the sale of beverages on or about the premises of the cannabis business, we run into the problem of, what's a premises, what's the boundary, and what we're really, by using the word premises, it's clear that it involves the business itself, so that we're not asking any individual business owner to police things off of their own property or off of the boundaries of where they're operating from.
The only suggestion I would say is take the second or grand opening and just get rid of that.
Right.
Strike it. Unless you want to put a grand in front of it. Then we're going on to 17 with some changes.
How about a really grand?
Super grand, uber grand.
Any other questions?
No, sir. And then we go on to 17 where some stuff has been struck out. 17 in the top of 18.
So on 17, at line 644, a suggestion that 7 p.m. for a retail storefront dispensary was kind of unrealistic in terms of the normal operation of retail businesses, and the suggestion was 9 p.m. From 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then on the restriction on consumption, both state law and our ordinances prohibit the consumption of any products purchased in these facilities, either on site or in public. And so it just points out again to identify more clearly the premises, so that we're not asking the business to start enforcing things, away from the operation of their business, but that while in their operation, they would be responsible to monitor that. Any questions on either of those?
No, sir, I don't think so. And then down to the bottom on 676.
676. This was the prohibition of any signage within 50 miles of the city of California City, and it was pointed out that that's probably rather difficult to enforce, and might be a violation of more than one element of the Constitution. And by using, if we were to eliminate that entirely, then our signage would be the minimal signage that we're allowing to have in our just identifying the business, not the product, so that you're on what you can do as far as those things are concerned. And then I guess part of it was we kind of wondering why, if that's a business that we're going to allow in our community, why we would not want people to know that it's available, as long as it's done in a discreet manner. Plus, really coming back to how enforceable would it be that we say you can't put up signs outside the city limits within a 50-mile radius.
Gentlemen, anything on those so far? Then if not, we can move on to page 19.
Then on line 730, paragraph K, the whole issue of loitering, putting the responsibility of loitering on any business owner becomes very problematic. One, how do you define it? Two, how do you control something that goes on? Loitering, if we could come up with a clear definition. I'm not sure what we use anymore. We used to call it mopery, and which was running and jumping and acting stupid in public. You remember that one from the old days. But loitering is a difficult one for us in law enforcement to really identify. How do we put that burden on a business to figure that out? I think if we see people, if they call us off of their property, someone is hanging around that shouldn't be there, they're going to call us and we'll go have a talk with them. But to have that the responsibility at this point, if we leave that in, it's the responsibility of the property owner to determine what loitering is and then police it on their property or adjacent to their property.
And if it's we're talking about loitering around a dispensary, that's going to have security, and they should be managing that themselves.
Yeah, your doors are the door's locked. You have to be escorted in. You have to be escorted out, and so that should tend to solve itself. But rather than trying to carve out how do we define these, my suggestion would be eliminate the section, and then we fall back on our own. How we would deal with someone who is a chronic problem and hanging around someplace.
And it looks like the next one is on page 21.
And line 810, when we're talking about the packaging and labeling, paragraph D, the carryover from the medical marijuana, where it said that a warning that the item is a medication and not a food must be clearly eligible on that package. We no longer are dealing with medical marijuana, and so it has no application either here or probably elsewhere. I think when the state will be going through a couple of iterations on what they're going to allow and require, and I think so far what's in here is probably pretty close to where we're at with the state right now, but we'll see guidance from the state as this goes forward. The major recommendation most people knowledgeable in the business is that this always needs to be marketed as a food supplement. You know, that type of, rather than ever alluding to any medical benefits or that. And so this simply gets rid of that, probably the last element that really tied us to medical marijuana.
So are we ready to move to page 22?
As we went through the page, the cannabis businesses, at the beginning, we started the process with the idea that we were going to have the businesses communicate with the people within 200 feet of their business, give them a name and phone number who they would call if they saw concerns about what was going on with the business there. That we then have at the beginning of the process, invite people in, tour the business before it opens, answer questions, so forth. And then during the first year, creating sort of a nebulous idea of a quarterly meeting process between the city manager, the city staff, and finally coming around to recognition that what we really hope will occur as a result of this business coming to our town is what's being suggested on there, starting at line 51. Without requiring it, that we encourage them to establish a local association of cannabis businesses to, one, at a minimum, communicate with the community in general and residents and other businesses closely adjacent to active cannabis businesses, represent the cannabis business before the city council and the city staff, seek for opportunities to support worthy individual and community needs. 5, create opportunities for the public to better understand the operation and contributions of the industry. And the city manager shall make staff available to assist in establishing a cannabis business association. We've heard from several of the different people that are proposing the businesses how they would like to participate in that kind of a process, that the opportunity for them to come in and contribute to the community they feel would be much more effective if it was a business association made up of multiple, if not all of the businesses, with at least those goals, and certainly they could go far beyond that if they wanted to, and that our role should be to assist them in the initial stages of getting it up and going, and look to them to then be having that as a new element of our community that would communicate in those manner in the manner explained there or more. So it's very rough, but a suggestion instead of the this rather rigid process where we've got to go through some specific meetings and specific time frames. And what's really important is that that these businesses get out and are seen and heard by their their neighbors and the community on what's going on, to be open to talk to people. And that's what we're seeing even as they begin the process of building, is that we're seeing a keen interest on their part, on willing to allow people to come in, look around, show what it is that they're doing. And we'd like to encourage that, but not at the same time not put a rigid rule that says it has to happen.
Thank you very much, Bob.
And with that, I think that's
pretty much
that are it.
Yeah, that are it. Council, do you have any questions? Well, we'll come back to us. Public, do you have any questions about any of the things that we have highlighted and walked through tonight?
Well, that's another. There's other line items that need to be addressed. Item 743, 746, 752.
Hey, one at a time.
Oh, okay.
Oh, ho, ho, slow down.
Okay.
Let us catch up.
Okay, item
743.
Yes. I think that telling a business you can only have a single day's inventory on hand is absolutely ridiculous. A business needs to operate. We need to get out of the cannabis business and give them an open hand and let them determine their inventory needs. I know of no other business that a municipality is telling them what their inventories should be.
And the next one?
This provision might mirror state law.
Okay.
In any licensed dispensary in the state can only have on-site as provided. So this just simply comes right straight out of the state regulations.
State.
Okay. Next.
746. That's.
Oh yeah, I think that's state.
Pardon?
I think that's state too. At no time shall cannabis or cannabis products be donated or given away unless it is for a valid purpose and pursuant to a program authorized in writing in advance by the city. I don't know if why we have that in there, the city piece.
Okay, I'm talking about some places give out samples, and some say after so many purchases, we're going to give you a price reduction or whatever.
I think that's going to be state driven. Yeah, that would be, yeah, right. Okay.
Come over.
Next one, sir. You had several.
752, outdoor cultivation. That's on commercial.
Mm-hmm. No.
Here's an issue right here. We have issued, the city's issued darn near 200 permits, and we don't have the buildings, but we have a tremendous amount of open space. We need to really consider outdoor cultivation fenced and properly taken care of and such. Let's use our city property to increase tax revenue. Choke it. 755, that's personal outdoor cultivation. A person should be able to do what they want on their property as long as it's not intrusive to other people. As an example, up in the Bay Area, they put a limit on the height of the personal plants, and I think that should be the consideration, not an outdoor ban on growing on your 6 plants on your own property. And that brings me to number 758. We don't want it visible, no. But personal growth in your own property, yes. If you're a renter with the property owners, okay, yes. Those are the suggestions that I'm making that we make modifications to this ordinance on.
Thank you, Al, for that, but a lot of this is state-driven. I will also tell you something else that I learned and overheard the other day in a conversation with cultivators about outdoor cultivation. And if anybody in the audience has firsthand information that can clarify this, these products have to be tested. And with the fires in California, there are different chemicals that are now airborne as a result of the suppression of these, and these things may make it to plants, to these open cannabis outdoor grows. And if they don't pass testing, then they have to get rid of that whole crop. So that's something that has to be considered, because Phos-Chek I don't think is a food additive. And some of the other things, the products of combustion of these forests and all these houses and what have you, that gets airborne. It gets in our lungs all the way down here. So we have to keep that in mind too. Okay?
Yes. There's a company that's called General Hydroponics that their nutrients and such are non-toxic and such. And I'm doing an experiments to find out just what is going on with all of these things and how practical the outdoor and personal indoors are concerned. I'm not doing anything outdoors, but because I respect the ordinance and such, but we need to change that because the plants require sunshine and nutrients. So you shouldn't tell a person what to do with their own property as long as they're not creating a health hazard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments? Just before you say something, yes, sir?
I was just going to say, one of the original concerns about outdoor cultivation was that there was a lot of complaints from citizens about the smell of certain individuals that were growing, and some had allergic reactions, and so that was way before they went down this road. So I just point that out, or as by way of reminder.
Very good. Yes, thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Madam Mayor, Council, on page 15, security measures, section 5-6, 902. This has caused great concern for many citizens in our community. This hasn't evolved. It has changed rapidly from what was initially presented. And I would encourage council to beef up the security. This looks nothing like what was presented. And I would encourage you to beef that up. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? First round, 3 minutes before we utter anything.
This will be short and sweet. Christy Munt. I just want to see this move forward as fast as possible, as I've been saying all along. And as for the comments on security, I believe it's their own business's responsibility to decide their security. The city should not be involved in deciding how much security a business should have. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going, seems like, with state guidelines. Anyone else? Before I move up here. Anyone? All right, moving up here. Council, our turn to address things. Do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Sir, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns? Councilman? Okay. In the meantime, Councilman Stump, do you have any questions? Okay. I have no questions, by the way.
I heard it said that we should just allow the growers to decide on their security, and yet 95% of the cities in the state of California have put in rules and regulations governing the security of their cities. What I see here is on 594, item 594, page 15, the city council may impose further security requirements above and beyond the minimum security requirements imposed by state regulations upon the recommendation of the city manager in consultation with the chief of police. I believe in our chief of police, and if he says we need more, he will bring it to us, and I believe Mr. Stockwell will approve if there is a need for more. So I think it's adequate at this time.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else?
No.
Go-overs, do-overs? Anyone else, since we did speak, have a 2-minute second call? Seeing none? I'm looking for... Oh, Al, come on. I'll just play with my Zen garden here.
Again, I think there should be an item added to include an extension fee or any entity that wishes an extension of their terms of completion and startup. So if we establish startup dates, a prospective entity should do their due diligence.
But, sir, that's not part of this ordinance.
Well, I said it should. That's why I said it could be added.
So on the 28th, I would hold that thought and bring it back on the 28th. Okay?
Okay, 28th
Thank you.
then. Thank you.
Because it's not part of this. It's not agendized as such. but thank you.
Okay.
So the 28th.
Will the council consider the items that I brought up?
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Gentlemen, I'm looking for a motion of, by the first reading by title only with further waive of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of California City repealing and enacting Title 5, Chapter 6 entitled Medical Cannabis Related Businesses and Activity.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Madam Clerk, roll call us on this, please.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Stump?
Yes.
Mayor Wood?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Mayor?
Let's, yes, ma'am?
I just have an inquiry. Can we put this second reading on consent like we normally do?
Yes.
Okay.
Council, you don't have a problem with
Okay.
that, do you?
Thank
Okay.
you.
Because we can pull it off anyway, if that's the case. We don't have to do a roll call on that request, do we? No. We want to put it on consent. Okay. All right. So at this time, let's give us a moment so that we can get Mayor Pro Tem back up. And it shouldn't take more than 2 or 3 minutes. I'll be right back.
Oh, Carlos.
One more ball for you, bud. I'll explain it, what happened. It was,
So if everyone could gather back to their seats. Thank you for allowing us to do this. All right, is everyone ready to take their seats, please? We're back. And we're talking about CB1, which is canceling the hiring freeze. City Manager Stockwell, I'm going to turn that over to you, sir.
With the passage of Measure C, we're requesting that the council remove the hiring freeze so that we can get busy and start hiring as many of our vacant positions as we can. It's going to take us several months. In some of them, some we can do fairly quickly, but we just appreciate the council removing the hiring freeze. At this point, we'll work from the last staffing document that the council saw. Those are the positions we would look at filling then.
So in other words, we're not really creating any new positions other than the ones that you've brought to council to take care of, which we'll be discussing later.
Correct.
So, and we're just going to try to fill all of the positions that are necessary in public safety and other departments as necessary. So anyone from the public have any comment on this particular question, this item or concerns? Seeing none, moving up here. Gentlemen, any discussion on this?
No.
Okay,
No.
looking for a motion.
Make a motion that we remove the hiring freeze and get this city going forward.
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, roll call us, please.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Stump?
I say yes, but I would like to have us emphasize that we should put a priority on getting police officers.
Mayor Wood?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, now we're going into public work staffing. That's CB2. I'm sorry, what?
Yes, me too, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Doggone it. We
What's the matter
just.
with you?
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez?
I have to recuse myself from this too.
No, you're good. She was looking at the same Post-it note. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Apologies. Public staff.
Yeah.
Let's start it. That would be CB2. CB2, Public Works Staffing.
Well, we're going to be talking about mowing grass, so I don't know, maybe.
Oh, that we've already covered that subject matter a couple ago.
I was thinking maybe Carlos, maybe step down.
I will recuse myself now for owning a landscaping business.
Mayor, council, public. So we just did what we had on the staffing doc. These are not part of the staffing doc. These are part of what we're requesting is hire 2 more full-time temporaries for basically for the golf courses to continue. And we haven't even hired the first 2. We've got one, and the other one I think is supposed to start today or some day in the near future. So it takes time to actually get and find the right employees. So we're requesting to hire 2 more. I put 6 months on this, so we have time. And why I said temporary, full-time temporary, because we will be bringing back obviously a management plan for the golf course and how we will continue to move forward. So I didn't want to hire permanent positions, and these could be rolled into that, but I think until we really have a good staffing plan on how we're going to move forward, we need to keep these as temporary positions. As always, they can move into other positions that have already been approved, and we have quite a number of those. So we're asking to authorize 2 full-time temporary positions in the general service workers in the facilities and grounds to work on the Tierra del Sol, and also would be the Par 3 at some point.
The question that I have, when you talk about the Tierra del Sol, the management plan, that's also going to be part of the audit, what comes out of the audit that we're conducting? Hey, Bob, just real quick. Part of the Tierra del Sol management plan is going to be contingent on the overall city analysis, right, of all of our departments and our needs? Yes, no?
That'll be one of the things we'll address in that, but then simultaneous with that, we'll be probably getting some proposals from some golf course management companies to help focus on where we go, so it'll run parallel with that. Yeah.
Okay, and you'll be bringing those to us anyway, so
yes.
That's very good. Okay, thank you, sir. Anything else on this?
No, ma'am.
Any questions real quick before I open it up?
No, ma'am.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have any questions, comments, or concerns on this item about public works staffing?
Yep. One quick comment between the water and the staffing. TDS in Part 3 will cost we taxpayers $169,000 per annum. That's ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else from the public?
Keith Middleton. Just one comment. We were talking earlier about beautifying the city and the roads that come into it. A much more attractive golf course is a complement to that, and that sounds like something we should do.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else from the public? Okay, moving up here. Gentlemen, any questions, comments, concerns? All right, then at this point, I'm looking for a motion to authorize the advertising and hiring of 2 full-time temporary general service workers for facilities and grounds to work at the Tierra del Sol Golf Course.
Make that motion.
Second.
Madam Clerk, could you roll call us, please?
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Stump?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez?
Yes.
Very
Mayor Wood?
good. And
Thank you,
yes.
Council.
Yes. So we are there, right? Okay. CB4, Police Department hiring part-time. We have on CB4, for anyone that was late to arrive, we have a CB4 and a CB4A. We're going to do CB4 first, and it's Police Department hiring part-time annuitants to fill department needs. Police Chief Hurtado.
Thank you, Mayor. California City Police Department once had 22 full-time sworn officers on the police force. Over the last 2 years, it's been difficult to attract lateral police officers to join the force. Laterals are officers that are already in service with other agencies and willing to basically jump ship from their agency and come and join us in California City. Our current staffing is 10 full-time sworn officers to cover 24 hours, 7 days a week, plus investigate serious crimes that have struck our community. There are times, like it was brought up earlier, that when assigned detectives and administration cannot work special assignments due to them being tasked with everyday patrol calls. The lack of sufficient staffing has increased response times and will take several years to restore the police force to full staffing. Major crimes will continue to be committed in our community as the criminal elements may use this time of staffing shortage to their advantage. A quick alternate to the staffing problem would seek out veteran officers who have recently retired and would be willing to perform some of these specialized investigations on a part-time on-call basis. There are several important cases in California City that would be ideal cases for experienced investigators to work on. We'd be targeting those with over 20 years of law enforcement experience background in some of these specialty areas. The detectives unit has had 3 full-time personnel assigned or slotted to be assigned to perform a variety of criminal investigations. We'll, for the sake of this staff report, we'll call them 3 full-time equivalents or FTEs. That will be needed to fulfill the mission of the detectives unit. Our desire is to look out and seek for experienced investigators that would specifically have experience in these areas: major crimes, homicide, sex crimes, and white-collar crimes. When we talk about full-time equivalents, we're looking at 2 part-time investigators for each full-time equivalent officer or detective. To keep in accordance with PERS, we are looking at this is essentially a bridge. We're seriously lacking enough in investigations to fulfill and work these important crimes. And in order to stay within PERS requirements, we're specifically targeting those areas that I've mentioned. This would be temporary part-time assignments until we get into an area where we have sufficient staffing to support the full-time officers. I see us revisiting this in maybe about a year. Annuitants under PERS can work up to 960 hours. At that point, they would then have to no longer work for that part-time agency. And that's, Christian, per calendar year?
That's correct. And the Chief and I spoke about this prior to the meeting. I think there would be some additional work to make sure that we are in full compliance with PERS, because there's been some additional efforts on their part to really hold to the rules on this, and so we need to be very careful that we very specifically call out these are special projects that we'd be trying to catch up on, or not an ongoing employment relationship. So yes, targeted at a year, and at the same time trying to have a well-defined plan for how we're going to fill these positions long-term to get the job done on a permanent basis. So I would just ask that the council authorize this contingent on working with administration and the city attorney's office to make sure we have a well-defined plan.
Understood. Did you have any more?
Just the short-term fiscal impact, since they would be temporary part-times, they would not be entitled to the regular benefits and overtime of full-time salaried. So short-term, we could be looking at about $25,000 for each full-time equivalent if we're able to recruit those detectives.
Okay, you're saying it's not a savings of approximately $25,000. You're saying each one would cost us about $25,000.
That would be a savings.
Okay.
Because they would not get a retirement package.
Because the way you said
health.
it sounded like.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Mayor,
Can I ask you a couple?
If I could stress one thing. I think it's important to recognize that this has nothing to do with us filling these positions. We want to move aggressively. This is not going to take the place of us bringing in our own people as soon as possible for that. And so it runs in concert with that, not we do this instead of this.
I think he described it as a bridge, right?
Right.
Okay. How much are you looking at paying these folks to come in?
They would be the same pay scale as the positions, full-time equivalent. So detective, and I want to say it's around $28 to $32 an hour.
$32?
Something like that.
Okay.
32.
Kind of get a nod from Mary.
Just go with 32.
Sorry, I don't have it in
Okay,
front of me.
there's Mary. That would be the yes or no lady on that. She has that information. You mentioned you had 3 detectives, and who was the third?
Oh, we don't have it filled.
No, but you said at one time you did.
Right.
And who was that?
We had one of our six-sleeve officers filling in, Arroyo.
Okay.
Jordan was in there for a while.
So it begs the question, having listened to, and I can't say I wasn't emotional either, a mother who is very frustrated with the loss of her daughter in the heinous way that she died. What's happening with our current detectives? I mean, I understand you're short, but what's happening to the knowledge that they have on these cases, because it's perishable, it's going away the longer they stay away from these cases. What are we doing to maybe bring in part-time, regular officers to help keep the detectives dedicated to these critical cases? And we can't miss the billboards going down South CCB, as there are others. And I can tell you, even to this date, I have people that live out of state that still call and ask me about Charlie Pieper, because they're very close to him and what has ever happened to that case. And that still happens, and it will continue to happen until we have some resolution on those cases.
Yeah.
So I understand that this is critical that we move forward, but I have to, just one more thing, I remind us that we did this before. We had 2 people that came in to take care of cold case items. We gave them rental cars to go to and from. And it was low-hanging fruit. There was nothing on major crimes that was solved on this, as my understanding. They cleared off a lot of open cases, but they were all small, insignificant things. So when we go in this direction, which we have to have somebody working on these cases, where do we find these people? Because we don't have them, here. How do you find them?
To be frank, we have to try to compete with other agencies that are doing this throughout the state. Our detectives or any of our officers, at the most, they might have 3 to 5 homicide cases under their belt. I want to try to reach out to larger agencies in Antelope Valley and Kern County that may have recently retired that still want to be in the business, still want to go out and have the knowledge, and still recently certified through Post, but for one reason or another retired from their old agency. I think with other departments doing this, everyone's starting to realize there aren't lines of officers breaking down the doors to join a police force. When I started, we had over 2,000 applying for 40 positions. I have 3 applications, and we've been advertising for 6 months, a year. So we're not attracting those that have experience. So one of the things that I spoke with other chiefs throughout the state is looking at this annuitant program to temporarily fund or temporarily assign somebody that has not general investigative experience, but specific. And that's what we're going to look at. If they don't have specific ones that we need to fill, sorry, we need those that have 50 or 100 homicide cases that they've gone to trial on.
Eric, I got the name of an LA County deputy who worked the last 15 years he worked homicide, and he just retired.
That said, thank you.
Yeah.
Let me finish.
Sorry.
Okay, I understand that. And it looks like you're looking at 6 part-time personnel to take care of this. And this would not be all at one time then?
No.
Okay. How will you measure the success of this?
Well, a couple of cases I recently mentioned, we had, they've been on it for 2 years. We've even taken extreme measures to where I added one other person. So there's 4 people assigned to some specific cases. And I told them, I'll tell you what, I'll go and I'll work your shifts. I'll cover the streets while you don't work the streets, work specifically on these cases as far as you can go. And I've been told they've worked as far as they can go. So I think a fresh set of eyes, ones with some more experience, will be able to help push some of these cases along.
Okay. Now, just because this is who I am, and this is taxpayer money, what is a full wrap on this? Where are you going to have these people actually? Where is their workstation? What's their transportation? What are these things that are also going to be involved in this? And then just let me remind you, the line item that was referenced here has no money. There's no money in this line item, and there was no money in the there's no money in the July-August 2018 2-month budget for this. And we had no money last year, but we spent over almost $8,000 on this.
Right. Well, that's simply because instead of 22 officers, we've been going with 10, and we've had the savings of salaries. So we're 12 full-time salaries would be easy to adjust and part-time and hopefully solve some of these crimes.
Yeah, I understand. This is very important. It's critical for us to make some headway on these cases. It's not just Deb. It's so many others.
Absolutely.
And so many people that we have to look in the eyes of these folks or listen to the phone calls saying, what's being done with my loved one, my friend, cases. And it's not to compare it to graffiti, but it's just like there's so many things that people expect from us. And we just want to make sure that we have the right people doing these jobs for us that have that skill set that you discuss, so we can put, give some people closure sometime before it gets, we know.
Right.
Many of us have lost. We know.
And Deb is one. I made some promises, and I intend to stick to those promises. I want these solved.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate you taking the time for my questions.
Chief,
Anyone else? Any other
Chief,
council?
you mentioned that we have to compete with other agencies.
Yes.
Have you formulated a plan and how you expect to compete with some of these agencies? And is $28 to $32 an hour competitive to attract the kind of people that you're looking for?
Luckily, earlier today, during the meeting while I was catching up on some paperwork, I went through the latest website posting for employment. I'll read off some that are doing the similar. City of Fremont, Lake Shastina, City of Los Angeles, Long Beach, Maricosta, Monterey, National City, Palm Springs, and Santa Ana. None were very close to us, so hopefully if there are recently retired detectives in Antelope Valley, maybe they might not want to travel to Northern California, where yes, they'll pay a higher salary, and likewise down south, maybe they want to stay locally. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, and I know that we have limitations, but if we're saving money on benefits and things like that, you think it may be prudent to maybe increase the amount to give us a little bit more of an advantage?
Absolutely.
'Cause, I mean, if this is really as important as we're talking, then let's just not vote on just what's on here. Let's, based on your experience, do you think these wages are competitive? Does it give you an advantage over other communities?
We are basically paying security guard wages for our detectives. If we wanted to be competitive, yes.
What do you recommend?
I'd say we need to bump it up at least 10%.
So let me ask a technical question then. If we do that, because what you're doing is you're basing it on what our current wages are, that means
Yes.
that we would have to open up our agreements at some point for negotiations with both of these organizations. It's just not a matter of saying, okay,
Yeah,
we're going
let's-
to pay you. Go ahead.
We're talking about apples and oranges, okay?
Yeah,
Because our labor contracts will control what we do with our employees, long-term,
Right.
short-term. And we will be coming to the council very soon to start that process, and we'll have all of those same kind of discussions. I think where the parameter exists on this is we're talking about bringing in someone who will not consume the 30% benefit package that we have. So if we spent up to 30% more, it's still within the budget because we're not paying out those things. And I think if we had the latitude of being able to go out and just be aggressive and find people, and because we're doing it on a short-term basis, be able to spend no more than the total roll-up of the position that we're going to use rather than try to match the hourly wage. If we had that flexibility, I think it gives us a lot more to offer in the environment. So that assuming we had a top-grade detective, that we could spend up to what the roll-up on that would be on the temporary, then that gives us the flexibility of what we need to do.
Yeah, because we have to ask ourselves, what's the objective? Is the objective to fill a position, or is the objective to fill a position with someone who's going to be effective?
Yeah.
The objective is to solve a crime.
Effective is, I think,
I
is
have
the key
some
word.
questions also.
Okay, we'll get to you in just a second.
Well, you can go ahead.
Okay, Gene, go ahead.
Yeah, the questions I have are, we probably need a memorandum of agreement, and that memorandum of agreement should also state that I would like to see them hired as, like, when you do a 1099 on somebody, basically a contractor to the city, so we're not worried about their CalPERS or anything like that. We just pay them a certain rate, and that's it. Secondly, with them being highway patrolmen, they normally don't get into the type of
Hey, Gene?
police work. Yes.
Gene, we're not talking about. Sorry, we're not talking about CB4A yet. We're talking about seasoned detectives in major crime-related experience. I mean, with real experience on a temporary basis. We're on.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. But if you have something to say about that, this would be the time.
Just nothing on that right now.
Okay, Jane, we'll get back to you on the CB4A in a moment.
I didn't have anything else.
Okay, where did we leave off? You, sir?
So, Bob, what you're saying is to allow you to go to the level of a full-time position. Is that correct? I agree.
Okay. So, council, let's open this up to the public. Let's hear from them. Anyone have any comments on this?
We're obviously not going to get a Lieutenant Joe Kenda. We are obviously not going to get a Lieutenant Joe Kenda. But he did a show when he was a rookie. And he started out as a rookie detective, and he solved a very, very difficult homicide case that the seasoned officers said that was unsolvable. So we need to open our eyes and look at a person's abilities, not necessarily their history. The other thing that comes to mind is the contracting with an agency that may consider having one of their 2 or 3 of their detectives on TDY. Another alternative that comes to mind is a private detective agency. Give them the file and say, okay, what do you think about it? What can you do with it? This is our budget. And consider that as an alternative. Seasoned people are fine and everything. Retired people, some of us are good, some of us are not so good, some of us just want $1. So give them the dossiers and say, give us your thoughts and give us an estimate on what it would cost us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Al. And I think that's what the chief wants to do, is to make sure that he has seasoned professionals with a track record, something that can be very well taken a look at.
Lieutenant Joe Kenda did not have a track record as a homicide detective.
I don't know him, man, so I can't speak on that.
I do.
Oh, that's good, but I don't, so it's not relatable for me.
Good evening. Again, DJ Tuig. I am not an expert in any area of concern here, but I have an opinion. And my opinion is that we're looking for results. And so we would like to encourage you to do what's necessary to have the results of solving crimes and improving public safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Council, I'm certainly not an authority on police work, but I am somewhat of an authority on 48 hours and on cold case. And you can't force someone to solve something that they don't have the evidence or the clues for. And we live in a day and age where there's no snitching is becoming kind of the rule of thumb. And I don't know what our chief has to be able to have for encouraging confidential informants to be able to come forward, but I would encourage you to provide some funds for them to be able to get some new information from the public. That Nixle, I think it was 11 minutes after that came forth that the vehicle was spotted. Not everyone's going to respond to Nixle, but I think there needs to be funds available for our police to be able to attempt to get people to come forward. If they won't come forward because they want to help, They may come forward because of the information, and they'll come forward for the funds.
Thank you. And we already have put out there several times reward money to get this information, and I don't think we've had anybody come forward. You would know better than I.
Right. We initially it was 1,000, went to, I think 2,500, we're up to 10,000. And when it gets to the, I believe when we get to the point of maybe there is an opportunity there that Mr. Smith spoke about, I'll be coming before council with some ideas.
Because we've done that before in a couple of, well, we did that in the Thorbus case initially, and then we've done it pretty much in several other cases very recently. In fact, just within the last 2 years, we voted to.
Right, everyone's at 10,000 right now.
Yeah, so everybody, we have that out there as a tool. It's just people just don't come forward, or they just simply don't have information. Okay, anyone else from the public before you come back up here? Seeing none, moving up here. Gentlemen, any questions? Any other comments? Then we're looking for a motion, if that's not the case. Looking for a motion to approve the hiring of part-time extra help positions in specialized areas with adding on what Christian had added to this. Christian, could you give us some extra words on that? The contingent on.
Contingent on working with staff and the city attorney's office to ensure that we're in full compliance with any PERS rules and regulations.
Thank you. That would be, yes, sir?
Yeah, and just clarify with the salary parameters that Mr. Stockwell mentioned.
30% above? Okay, the full budgeted cost of the position, up to.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay.
I'll make that motion. We approve.
I'll second.
Madam Clerk, please roll call us on this.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Stump?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez?
Just a quick second. This is 30% above from what we have right now? Then yes.
Mayor Wood?
Yes. Yes, thank you very much. Now let's move on to CB4A. CB4A is a temporary contract for law enforcement assistance. And I'm going to turn this back over to the chief again. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. The police department once had 22 full-time sworn officers on our force. We're down to 10, covering 24/7. With the amount of major crimes recently committed, there's very minimal time that allows proactive enforcement in California City. The police department is currently trying to fill much-needed positions as quickly as possible. The lead time to recruit, conduct backgrounds, process, and hire replacements can take several months. There's been times over the last couple months that the police department has only been able to field one sworn officer, one 911 dispatcher, plus support staff. Although we do have a very dedicated police force, there are times when our recruitment period we've been only able to field one sworn officer to handle police calls. I've reached out to neighboring agencies and asked for temporary assistance for approximately 4 to 6 weeks. I've received correspondence from the State Highway Patrol, Mojave office, as a part-time measure, or a temporary measure, I'm sorry. I've asked for a proposal from them to augment our force during this time period. I'll explain what's happened and also a theory. Over the next month, I have to fill 26 shifts because of subpoenas that are pending for cases. This is my theory. Good public defender has probably been watching the news to see about the fate of our department and probably pushing those cases back to see what was ultimately going to happen. Just like anybody that gets a speeding ticket maybe wants to push their speeding ticket back to maybe around Christmas or the 4th of July. where normal departments, they might be able to get some time off around the holiday season. The officer doesn't show up and they get their case dismissed. Same theory, I think, is here. They're pushing the cases back. We've had to drop many cases because our officers have moved to other parts of California and even out of state. These 26 slots, cases that are coming up in the next few weeks, we'll have more days like yesterday where it's just basically myself or one sworn officer to handle. Luckily, there was a couple hired patrolmen and a deputy, and even though it was a request for immediate assistance, it still took almost 25 minutes for, even with driving lights and siren, to go from Mojave all the way out to 14 and into our little island that takes a few minutes to come into town. Right now, the Mojave office, because they're a state agency, they can, I believe, be able to fulfill our temporary request. We've reached out, like I said, to other agencies, and like I said earlier, law enforcement agencies are suffering a severe staffing shortage throughout the state, and the replies I've gotten so far is we don't have enough to fill our own, so we can't help you out right now unless it's an absolute dire emergency that's coming out, helping take care of the emergency for 30 minutes, an hour, and then going back to their respective agency. California Highway Patrol is able to assist our community through state officers on overtime. The approximate cost per hour is $99.10, which include the officer, patrol vehicle, and fuel. The police department utilize their services on 8-hour shifts where coverage would be necessary. The state officers were able to address traffic complaints while providing necessary backup to our officers. We estimate this critical area to last, we're hoping, 4 to 6 weeks. Reached out to Commander for Mojave. Our estimation is maybe 3 shifts a week during this time period. A cost using those rates, if we used for 3 shifts a week for the time periods, around $14,000. We would use Prop 172, Public Safety Augmentation Fund. And at the time of the staff report, we had a May financial which showed a about $46,000 availability for funds. Because we're looking at court times, it fluctuates. I won't know in 3 weeks how much court time we're going to incur. We would be in contact with the Mojave commander and work on 2 weeks at a time increments until we get past this problem. I'm ready for any questions.
How are you going to get past this problem? I mean, we just go right back to where we started from. Just the.
Like I said, we need a way to attract and keep officers.
Yeah.
The flow is going one way. We need to stop that leak and keep them here.
And the sheriff's department has the same exact problem. That's what I understand. Same problem. Anyone else have any questions up here? Okay. Councilman Stump, do you have questions on this particular action?
Yes, the questions that I had were, as I talked about earlier, the type of MOA that we're going to sign with them. Also, and I'm for it, so don't think that I'm not that I'm against it, but that we need a good MOA with them. Also, as far as them doing the type of police work that we do, they're a little different, and I don't know if I talked to the chief earlier about this, and I don't know if they do all of the things that our guys do, but they can be trained in that.
Well, they
And then also, as far as CalPERS, if we just hire them, contract them basically like a subcontractor to our city, things like that. And I don't know if we have looked into all of that. City manager and the chief of police can tell us what they've done in that area.
Well, I'll let you know that Highway Patrol changed its thing a few years ago, where it used to be traffic officer. Now they're general law enforcement. They can handle the 273.5s, the 415s, whatever needs to be addressed. The MOU is a contract which will be between the local highway patrol office and the city. It's very, very specific, and it had to get approval from Sacramento and headquarters up in Sacramento from the commissioner's office. Plus, it had to go through legal also. So that's covered. You can't use them as part-time as far as working specifically for this department because the law says you can't have two badges. So that's why you do the contract thing.
And do you have a copy of this reimbursable letter of agreement, the preliminary thing that was marked preliminary only, Gene?
I saw it on the internet, but it's difficult for me to talk and look at that at the same time.
Yeah.
So very difficult.
Understand.
Yeah. Mayor, if I could address.
Yes, sir.
I don't have unlimited internet like in the States. They don't do that here.
They don't do that in Cal City either.
Yeah.
What I'd like to suggest is the form of the agreement, there's obvious area in it that's only for 4 days, so we need to change that from August 13th to August 17th, so that's an oversight.
Yeah.
I would suggest that we look at this in terms of 2 to 4 months, so that we allow ourselves an ample time to focus on filling vacancies, and I think by then our citizens will have slowed down. They're not used to getting traffic tickets, and so they will they'll have an opportunity to slow down, and that'll be good for everybody. But at the same time, we'll have solid work out there. And I think the advantage of this over us trying to contract with individuals, off-duty people, is that these folks come to us fully loaded. They've got everything they need. They cover their own liability. I mean, it's just they're coming and working here in our community to do that, and it's a unique opportunity for us to take advantage of it, and allows us to really focus on, how do we fill these vacancies? How do we come up with a package? As I point out, by our next council meeting, we'll set aside a significant executive session to talk about what we're going to do in those areas, going forward across the board. So my recommendation would be that we just add to the chief's recommendation by another, 2 to 4 months instead of what was recommended. And then we work out the details of the agreement because this is their standard form of agreement, and then go forward.
Yeah, Mayor, I've been talking with Commander Williams. I last talked to him, I was going to say a couple hours ago, but I think we've been here a few hours. So about 4 o'clock, and he was waiting for a final word from Sacramento. He was hoping to have a final word on moving forward with creating a contract that would outline what Mr. Stockwell just said. One of the things that the state will not do would be to enter any contract, or this is not the format for us to enter any contract where we would, or they would incur more than $50,000 worth of expenses. So this is temporary. They have their own cap. So even if we want to extend it, which right now I don't have a crystal ball, I have vacant positions. I'm just trying to keep 2 officers on the street right now, and it's hard.
I understand, Chief. And what we're actually doing is paying CHP to come in and do some additional stuff for us. They don't actually work for us.
Right.
But what we would be paying for their services. They bring the vehicle, they bring the gas, they bring the skilled individual into the
They'd
community.
be stationed here,
Right.
and
Just for that.
just for the shift,
Right.
That we
They don't go
think we're
anywhere
gonna be
else. They stay
short.
here.
Oh, if there's an emergency call, yes, they
Okay.
will respond if an officer down or emergency.
Understood.
Yeah, but otherwise, as if we were made an arrangements for a traffic parade detail or movie detail, they'd be assigned to Cal City, barring any extreme emergencies, for their shift.
Okay.
And like I said, we're struggling to keep 2 officers on around the clock right now.
Mayor,
Understood. Yes, sir.
So you could approve this for whatever term you think is appropriate, and cap it at the 50,000, with the intent to come back with a more an agreement that we've worked out with them, if to whatever degree it's determined to be necessary for an extended period beyond that.
Yeah, I believe when I last talked to Commander Williams, the state may need. I was, like I said, hoping I'd get some word, but maybe for us to come back with a resolution, council let us move forward for this agreement. But I don't have an answer right now.
Okay.
we'll
Yeah,
have to come
that's
back
actually a
and-
term of this agreement, but it does say you can be a resolution, ordinance, or I'm thinking a minute order. So we could just do something in the minutes for purposes of this agreement.
Yeah.
So what's the desire then? What's the best thing for us to do?
Up to 50,000.
Up to 50,000, and I'm not sure what term that would be, but
But you also said for 2 to 4 months. You're extending the term.
up to 4 months, but not to exceed 50,000. So if you run out before then
4 months. 4 months or $50,000.
And I'll ask you offline. I don't want to make this public dealing with this.
Shifts, yeah.
Anyway, so
Well, you're not eligible to do it anymore, Chuck.
no,
I know.
your skills have
I
perished.
still got a car, it just, and it runs pretty good.
Since I've been on this, have we opened this up for them yet?
No, we
Okay,
haven't.
please, let's do that at this time.
Madam Mayor, Council, as you're talking about a drain with our public safety folks leaving, 2 hospitals, one in Lancaster, one in Palmdale, they're competing for the same nurses. They're giving signing bonuses. I think we need to do a signing bonus for our public safety folks that are staying here. If we're going to give a signing bonus for new folks, there should be some type of retention bonus so that they're not going to be slighted for their loyalty to this community for staying here. And it's going to take money to get people to come here. This is not trying to be agitating here, but we're still under a public safety tax. And until that comes off, it's still going to be 6 years. Somebody's going to move their family here. Until that is something they're going to feel comfortable that in 6 years this is not going to happen again. It's going to be very hard to attract officers. It's going to be very hard to attract firefighters. And the trained folks we have, they should be getting a retention bonus. And you're probably going to have to do a signing bonus to get people to come here. And talking about almost $100 for an officer to come, what do we pay for our tech support for Code 3? How much do they get an hour? So when you're talking about it, seems like a horrendous amount of money, but it's their vehicle. It's an officer. It's a body. They're coming equipped. Our city needs to be protected. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Keep in
Anybody else?
mind that the chief himself has said that many agencies are struggling with this.
Not just us. Yes, sir.
Yes, DJ Tuig, I guess for this particular item representing mycalcity.org. On this subject matter, I met with Chief a long time ago and asked him about his strategic plan for retaining officers and improving policing. He made a statement to me that he had a vision for community policing at the time, as I recall. He also said that he had proposed to do a housing grant for community policing, where the officers that lived in the community and could respond on standby at need, etc., maybe a grant would be available to them as an incentive for housing. I don't know if you recall that conversation. Additionally, the debt could be canceled if they stayed up to 5 years, possibly incrementally each year. The debt would be canceled a certain amount. If you're considering an incentive, maybe that is a possible incentive, that you would have officers stay in the community. That would be an incentive for them to be attracted to California City, and maybe we'd have a few more officers make us the choice if they're the officer that you want to have. Maybe that could be available to you, an incentive. Thank you.
Thank you. And that, I think, would be part of the bargaining that we'd have to go through. Yes, sir.
I got to start out with a laugh. Back in 1958, I applied to the LAPD. Pay at that time was $400 a month. Fast forwarding, on the serious side, I've been down to Lancaster talking to sergeants and such at the Marine and Navy recruiting office, and they said that they are not accepting any more recruits. So I think that going and talking to them, the people that want to go into the military, that this would be a golden opportunity and a win-win situation. You get young men that want to do something and go someplace, and offer them the training necessary to become police officers, and a job I believe that they would darn near jump at it. So that's my suggestion on recruiting. Another thought that just came to mind is talking to other large municipalities, personnel departments that do the screening and recruiting, because I know we can't pay the top dollar. We don't get the cream of the crop, but we could get people that they consider not quite qualified and train them. Those are my suggestions, and I think that the recruiter is the ideal one. I'm going to Lancaster, and let's see, I think tomorrow, and I'll stop by and talk to the recruiters if the chief would want me to. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public have any comments on this item? Anyone? Moving up here then. Council?
Go ahead.
All right, so I'm looking for a motion for to authorize the city manager to execute all necessary. Oh, wrong one. We're going into the golf carts. All right, to allow the staff to enter into an agreement with the State of California Highway Patrol Inland Division, Mojave Office for contracted assistance until deemed no longer necessary by the Chief of Police, not less than 4 months, not to exceed $50,000 at this point, correct? Not more than 4 months.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Yeah, that's what I thought you said.
Okay. Yeah, I said not more than 4 months, not to exceed 50,000. Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Oh, wait. There's red.
Hang on.
Agreements would be on still 2-week increments. Is that still applicable?
I think it would
to allow for scheduling review by both agencies.
I think that has to be.
That would for the purpose of tonight, I think with the cap.
Get rid of that.
And the time would be sufficient.
Okay.
And then I would just work it out with the command.
Exclude that.
So not to exceed, we'll get rid of that. So we'll leave off with not to exceed 4 months and $50,000, whichever is exhausted first.
Okay.
That's the motion we're looking
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Second that.
I second the motion.
Okay, Madam Clerk, would you please roll call us on that?
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Stump?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez?
Yes.
Mayor Wood?
Yes.
Motion
Thank you
carried.
very much. Moving on to CB5, golf cart leads, City Manager Stockwell.
We reported earlier, we met with the men's club and some other interested folks with Councilman McGuire and Paris, and talked about golf cart lease was a portion of that, but the overall operation in the future was that. Based upon that meeting, the consensus of the group was that we pursue assuming the lease that was in place, 36 months, and the total cost over that period would be the $127.68. For the remaining 36 months, that works out to roughly $3,300 a month, which was a correction from the $1,300 a month figure that I brought to you last time. I got all of the rest of the information on that. So that is available to be assumed by the city. The golf carts are all warranted for 4 years for all of the critical elements on it, the batteries for 4 years, all of the everything we had talked about was brought up in the meeting, or all would be covered during the term of the remaining term of the lease. Since that meeting, Craig has continued to go out and be creative and looking for opportunities, and in talking to the gentleman who we had referred to that was going to give us some insights into overall management of the course, and that he has made an offer to supply 25 carts with no obligation, $120 a month apiece. And if we need more than 25 carts, to do them on a weekly or monthly basis as needed. Our only exposure would be to pay the $120 a month per cart that was here during the period while we go through whatever our transition is ultimately on that. It is our understanding that there is someone in the wings ready to take over the other lease, so we wouldn't be creating a hardship there, but it would mean that we start off the assumption being that 25 carts is what we needed, see how that goes, but with the ability to adjust that up if needed. You know, if the amount of play is, they actually have the capacity that if we look forward that we have tournaments down the road, you can schedule and they'll bring in an additional number of carts in anticipation of that for that period of time only. And so the difference from what we are recommending there is, this new opportunity that Craig has brought forward where we could lease carts. The initial order would be for 24 or 25. How many carts initially?
25.
25.
And 25 won't cut it.
Well, we're gearing back up. So back when it's full out, yes, we already talked about that they've staffed between 30 and 40 carts. We're got to build back up to that because it's not going to be this weekend that 40 carts roll out the door or 30 carts roll out the door until we're fully operational. One of the recommendations was from the company or any company that would come in is that would manage the operations of the course is some of those just flat provide their own carts, and it's part of their agreement in operating the city, and they only are going to provide what is necessary to manage the course as far as personnel. So it was just another variation. It was from one of the companies that have managed 12 golf courses around us, Victorville and Apple Valley. I believe I mentioned that. They came here today. And the gentleman that actually running the Victorville course, and what they got is they also lease carts. So that's part of their operations. And obviously we'll be bringing back proposals as far as that as we move forward. So it's just an option. There's no obligation in this. We go up or down with the carts and not have any ownership whatsoever. And then as we transition over, then we have decisions we make. And we're not locked into 3 years at any level.
So what is the turn time then if you needed to have 20 more carts?
Like I said, they service up and down California and Victorville and Apple Valley and provide carts. I believe it was to the Victorville. He said he could have them here by Thursday. He has a 24-cart carrier.
No. If you needed more than 25 for a specific event.
Within just a few days.
Okay.
So if we were to go with that, he could have them here by Thursday.
Yes.
Up and running, set to go.
He says he has a fleet that he would move down that are front runners. They're all Yamaha. Same thing we do. It's just different different brand.
we'd be looking at.
And he maintains everything. We don't do anything. If we ran it off a cliff, then we're going to be liable.
But so we'd be looking at what, $31.25 a month, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3,100
versus 33.54.
The difference between the 33 is that we're on the hook for 36 months.
Yeah.
This is month to month, and so that's the.
Yeah. Plus, he's responsible for all the care and
Yeah.
stuff.
And he ships them for that, everything. So it's all included
Well,
in the
yeah,
price.
the carts on the lease, the carts are covered under warranty, and so they would be repaired by someone else anyway. So that part is almost identical. So the difference is that you're not obligated beyond
the time you use it.
Well, let me give you a scenario. A couple of carts go out. Yeah, they're under warranty, but they would be out.
Right.
This guy would be responsible to provide another 2 carts immediately.
Exactly.
Right. So that's a big difference.
Yes.
Now, did I understand correctly earlier? Did you say that he would run the course too?
No, he's.
Oh.
He.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, man.
He will, but those
could.
are things
He
we'll
would.
bring back.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That's another discussion. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right.
So if I did my math correctly, if we take the 3,300, 40 carts for 3,300, it's $82.50 a month per cart versus $120 a month per cart. There are going to be times we already have. Grace Resource wants to do a tournament here next month, and they usually have 90 golfers. And they want to set it up as soon as possible with staff so that they can lock it in. They're just waiting to see if we got carts or not.
Well, yeah. The basically the only difference I see basically between the two, it's a little bit cheaper. The 125 a month or 120 a month, and we can get some other carts out here, and. For that tournament, but we're not being locked into a 3-year contract.
And we would have the carts, like I said.
Yeah, and we can have the carts here post haste, since they're just down the street. So
The one thing to consider, though, I'm just thinking through this. If you have to increase over 25 carts, if you need suddenly, okay, now we need 30 or we need 35, you're going to have to, that's going to be 120 times.
Correct.
So that is going to be well above your 3,300. That would be where you get 40 carts. So I don't know. I mean, in my mind, it's such a small amount that, I mean, and you had mentioned if 2 are out under 40, you've got 40 carts to work with, as opposed to 25. So your discretion, but it's 3,300 versus 3,150.
And the 3-year contract.
Correct.
And the 3-year contract.
Yes.
But we got to do something because we got to get play back here at the golf course. Be able to people that.
Let's see what the public has to say. Is that okay? Anyone have any comments about that from the public? Going, come back to us. Gentlemen, what's your desire on this? What do you want to do?
The 40 carts is much better than 25. $82.50 a month is much better than $120 a month. We are locked in for 3 years, but then they're all under warranty for 3 years also.
4 years.
Well, they're 4, but there's already been a year.
There's already been
1 year
gone on it. So, and then we own the carts, do we not? Or no?
We don't own anything.
It's my understanding that at the end of the lease we own them.
We would own them.
Right.
We own
Is
them
that correct,
at the
Mr.
end?
Stockwell?
I don't
remember that ever being the case with golf carts in this
lease
town.
to me is a lease.
No, it's a lease. It's a lease.
There's closed and open-end leases. We'll clarify that. But either way, we know that we got to make some decisions about the golf course. The golf course is going to need carts, and if there is a lease in place, then if we don't run it, whether we take it over, that would be part of the discussion with them on what they're going to do.
Put it in their lap.
Yeah, if we have 40 carts on a lease,
Okay.
So I see that's fully this one is fully transferable, but how many times are you allowed to transfer it? That would be the thing.
Yeah, in the term, the language I read, it didn't talk about time. I think the practicality is anytime you've got an eligible person who wants to take it over, the financing company would be willing to accept a new bidder in place for that.
Yeah.
Property collateral.
Boom.
They didn't hesitate to bring us on because they think we've got real deep pockets.
Yeah.
My guess is that My guess is that we would probably finish out the lease and just work out some arrangement with whoever was managing in terms of the compensation, that when a new lease came up, we would let them do the new lease, and the compensation would just be adjusted accordingly. I mean, in terms of how much is being paid.
We got the carts here, and they can be in service, what, tomorrow?
When a piece of paper is signed, I brought that up at our meeting, so if he has a piece of paper that says it was signed, then he said we can start moving them.
We just have to have a signed contract with the leasing company.
And where is that now? No, I mean the actual paperwork for that.
I've got that. They said
Right. Yeah. Well, while you have Christian here, we just have him peruse that document if that's the way we go. All right, council, any other comments? Did you want a second call? Nope. Okay. Council?
Make a motion, we approve pick up the lease for the 40.
I'll second that.
Subject to the review of the city attorney. I might need to make some changes or something.
Subject to the review by the city attorney. Okay.
Should have been at the meeting Friday then.
We've got a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, could you roll call us, please?
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Stump?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez?
Yes.
Mayor Wood?
Yes. Moving on to council agenda, this portion of the meeting is reserved for council members to present information, announcements, and items that have come to their attention. The Brown Act precludes council staff or public discussion. Short staff responses are appropriate. The council will take no formal action. A council member may request the city clerk to calendar an item for consideration at a future meeting or refer an item to staff. Councilmember Paris.
No, ma'am.
Councilmember Stump.
Just weird watching the meeting and don't see yourself sitting up there, and yet you talk and you're there. So just a weird feeling. But other than that, nothing.
Imagine. Councilmember McGuire.
I want to thank everybody for going out and voting. I'm glad Measure C passed. The announcement I want to make is that the city lost a lot of history Sunday. Mm-hmm. A lot of history. A lot of knowledge, and that was James Quiggle, who passed away. And so to Linda and family, I send my condolences, and I'm sure everybody up here sends theirs to you. Prayers to you. To our city employees, God, you rock. You guys are incredible. It doesn't matter when we're down or when we're up, you're always there. And so thank you so very much. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Pro Tem Gomez.
Thanks, everyone, for coming tonight, taking time out of your busy schedules to come out. Yeah, Jim Quiggle was my former boss. He became a very good friend of mine. We had a couple of run-ins. I learned some things from him. So my condolences to Linda and the rest of the family.
And on that note, I agree. You know, I mean, I continue on. We did actually. It's almost like an end of an era with him passing. A lot of corporate knowledge, like they call a lot of graybeard knowledge about the city because of his time here. And thank you to the taxpayers. I have nothing but people saying, "How in the heck did y'all get that high?" 80.22%. I said, well, we were a good team. We worked hard for this, and the citizens of this community, I'm very proud of. And they all pulled together to make this happen. The question I have for you is ties portrait that was done going to remain in the lobby at PD?
Well, we still have it, yes, but you'll see the creation of some volunteers of recognizing all the canines.
Right.
But yes, we still have it.
Okay, no. Is it going to be displayed in the PD lobby?
Yes.
Because my recommendation was if he's not going to do it there, maybe we can move it into council chambers so that he could be honored here. Because canine or not, he's the only canine officer that has perished from line of duty accidents. Thank God. And maybe other people would have an opportunity to see it if it's not posted in a public place.
Yeah, we're myself and staff are looking. We have a 26-year-old building.
Yeah, I know.
Which has some creative ideas and
But so the public has access to that.
Our building's older, so neater.
If not, I think it would be nice to have here so that people can see that portrait. So let's just keep it open. If you're not going to have it in a place where it can be seen, we'll have it here.
we can take the place of the broken water lines.
What?
The
Yeah, we can
lobby.
take that out. Yeah, he's supposed to get rid of that anyway. So that's opening up space.
Yeah.
And then people would be able to see it. Do you mind that? Okay, so get rid of the junk and put the good stuff up. And the two pictures that go on either side, how about that?
Yeah.
Y'all happy with that?
Yeah.
No. The old rusty pipes you can't use for diddly-do. Yeah, okay. All right, that's all I have. Thank you very much,
Make 'em-
everyone, for coming. So the motion is?
Second motion that we go out of here.
Second.
Yeah, let's roll call that.
Yeah. We have
Believe
to.
it or not.
We have to.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Stump?
And it's Wednesday afternoon at 2 p.m. and 2:10 p.m. and I say definitely yes. I want lunch.
Mayor Pro Tem Gomez?
Yes.
Mayor
Thanks,
Wood.
Gene. We'll talk to you later, man.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Talk about, they say go either way, it doesn't matter where they go.
Yeah, finally got there.
So your brother's home?